Hey everybody, it's Anthony with Beam It Up Laser Works, and we have Kyle tonight
What
here to
up?
assist with his extensive knowledge and aggressive typing.
No, I'm just another idiot. It's all good.
So tonight is kind of a thing that I've been trying to get done for a while now, and just keep running into roadblocks. But what we are going to do is, as soon as hopefully some more people roll in, and whoever's here right now, if you have any questions in regards to how to use the rotary correctly or some roadblocks that you've run into with using the rotary, it's kind of one of the more difficult things, in my opinion, to get right when you first start off. So I know a lot of us aren't exactly beginners, but there are a lot of beginners everywhere. So if you do get a chance to see this, hopefully this helps out. But when I got my first fiber laser, I immediately, after doing the usual, like burn stuff, like the benchy, I call it. Everybody has like something they just have to burn the first time they fire up their laser. But once I got that out of my system, I plugged my rotary in and I left it plugged in for days, because I would just go through and try to master doing different things, and was doing like full wraps on cups within like the first month of having laser. So I feel like people have questions, and hopefully between Kyle and myself and chat, we'll have the answers. So looks like Sam's here. Sam was first finally.
Yep, Sam.
And Alex peeked in. I'm not sure if he's still here or not, but he said yo and gave us a wave. And then Mike C. What's up, Mike C? How you doing today, bud? Mike C is, I think, one of the few that's made almost all my lives. I think the only one probably that he's missed is like my lens one, because I didn't like announce that or anything. That was pretty much one of my first. So Sam, and then Yuri, of course. Yuri's here. Appreciate that. Mr. Cheese himself.
Missed Cheese.
And Michael. How do you go about, Mike C's got our first question. How do you go about determining compatibility between a driver and a rotary / motor?
That's a good question.
All right, so I'm gonna give my understanding of it, and Kyle, if I start spitting some BS out of my mouth,
no, you're good. While you're explaining your set, I'm gonna grab a visual aid.
Oh, okay, cool. So from what I understand is you have on every motor, there's going to be like an amperage rating for it. And on every driver, there's two sets of dip switches. Dip switches being a dual position switch, the DP switch, but you can't say DP, so you have to say dip. So the dip switches will determine
what'd you call
the amperage that the driver sends to the motor, and also will determine the number of steps for a full revolution. So there you go. Kyle's got his. Let me make you big, Kyle.
There's your dip switches.
Solo layouts. All right, there you go.
Focus. There we go. So those are your dip switches. So
they're in the middle.
You can see the graph on the front. So your first, I believe it's 4. Well, 3. 3 determine your supplied amperage, and the fourth one is usually a doubler. So you can double. Off would be half current, and on would be full current. Depending on the driver that you're looking at, sometimes they relabel that to full current and double current, but it's kind of irrelevant. The idea is the same. Did Anthony go disappear?
I shouldn't have. I'm right here.
Oh, you're here. Okay. So the idea is you want to match your amperage to the motor that you're driving. The other thing is this is actually what determines your steps per revolution. So, what rotary are you working with today?
I have all. Well, I only have a D125
Right.
on my fiber and my UV right now, and then
Okay.
I have my RA2 Pro in case anybody has any diode questions.
So those are both chuck rotaries that just happen to be. I'm pretty sure the RA2 Pro is also direct drive, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's not a gear drive.
So
Well,
both.
no, I'm sorry, it is a gear. I guess it technically is because it has a belt that's attached between the rotary and the chuck head. So I guess it would technically wouldn't be direct drive, right?
If it's geared down, then no. Well, even if it's not geared down, it wouldn't be direct drive. It would be belt driven. But so
yeah, it's definitely geared down because there's like a large wheel on the back of the chuck and then the small wheel on the motor. So
I just happen to have another instructional aid here. So here I have a ring rotary, right? No belt. This goes right from the motor with a shaft and attaches directly to this chuck head. So the idea behind this is a full rotation. So if you're looking at this point, right, it's going to rotate a full 360 degrees around to the same point if you, on the driver, utilize the drive or the steps per rotation value that you have set on your dip switches is the idea. When you start adding in a gear reduction, usually it's like belt driven or mechanically driven gear reduction. There's a quantity of teeth on the either the pulley or the gear or whatever mechanism is driving the rotary for you, right? And that functionally turns into a multiplier against the steps per rotation.
Right.
So
like, there's like 12 on one and 4 on the other, then it's like a 3 to 1, right? Because it would be 3 rotations of the smaller one would be 1 rotation of the larger one. So
damn it, Alex.
Your mom is a pulley.
Give you a pulley. So there's things to consider there. So depending on the type of rotary you're using is going to determine what route you need to take on your setup. And then also that can impact your art preparation too, right? So if you're doing like a full wrap, you need to make sure the dimensions of your full wrap are equivalent to like the circumference of your cup. And depending on if you're using like a hot dog roller with a gear reduction on it because it's belt driven, your setup will be a little more complicated.
Yep. And in the diode section or the rotary section for diodes, it does have a little bit different of a setup too. So when you're using a rotary with a diode, it doesn't use steps per rotation. It uses millimeters per rotation. So essentially what you find out is if you input, how many millimeters do you input for it to make 1 full rotation? So it's kind of like setting up just driver motors for a diode either way, because it knows, like, you tell it steps per rotation inside the settings. And you're just kind of going backwards with it and telling Lightburn how many millimeters it needs to tell that driver motor to spin or stepper motor to spin in order for it to make 1 full rotation. So, and then you put in your circumference and all that, and Lightburn does the rest of the calculations for you. So it's still going to functionally work the same, and you'll still be able to do like really good work with a diode and a rotary, but it's just a little bit different. So but yeah, that's essentially Mike C. Hopefully that answers your question. If you're hoping to like hot swap rotaries, then you want to find ones that are going to be running the same amperage at least. so that you don't have to pop your case open and start moving dip switches every time you want. Because if you overdrive it, that can cause issues, and if you underdrive it, it can cause issues with the amperage. So you want to get it like spot on or like razor thin close to the actual amperage.
I forget what there's like math that actually goes into that, but
Right.
a lot of rotary manufacturers, they utilize common motor configurations, right? So they're not matching a motor to every laser that they, because that's impossible.
Right.
But what they do is they take a motor that they find reliable, and as long as it's within an evaluation range, right? Like, let's say most 4-pin rotaries are being driven by a Y driver, and 90% of Y drivers are designed to put out X number of amps. If the motor that they pick to drive the rotary is between, I think it's like 50 and 100% of what that driver is set to put out, it's okay. But if you underdrive it below 50% or overdrive it more than that, you'll end up heating or damaging it.
Yeah.
I don't know if those are the actual quantity values, because I'm not a rotary manufacturer and I don't pay attention to motors that frequently. But that's the idea that has been passed on to me. So for the most part, that's why a lot of parts are interchangeable, unless you go from like the little baby motors off of like an atom stack to like a, I don't know, the Cloudray D300 rotary table has like the biggest, chunkiest motor on it I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, if you swap those out, you would definitely damage something. But I think
that was my understanding. Is you don't want to go over the amperage, but you can be like under a little bit's okay. But like I tried when I had my first Niji to use a different rotary, and it had it was running a NEMA 17, but it was one that was like more of a, I think a 30 something millimeter long body, and it just drew more amperage than the ones that came with the laser. So anytime I tried to use it, all it would do is just go and shake,
and
and
freak
then it
out.
would do anything and get hot. Yeah. So I ended up having to swap motors, but yeah, it's definitely. Alex says it's not a science, but in general, I find plus or minus half an amp is okay, which I think that sounds good. Yeah, sounds right. So we got Engraved Dreams that joined. What's up, everybody? And gave a big fat to your mom is a pulley. And let's see. So next question's from Yuri. It says, I'd love to know more about split size, how it impacts alignment, and also if it impacts speed, and what's the optimal split size for speed and quality. Again, I'll kind of give my cursory on it, and then Kyle will probably dig way deeper than I will. But as far as split size, I learned recently, I think it was on the LMA, why the LMA is so important and so useful and so valuable, because you learn stuff that you never knew before. I think it was Ed Seed said, when you set up your item on your rotary, you want to take your diameter and divide it by the number of steps per rotation. And then you want to use a multiple of that as your split size, which totally makes sense, because if you're trying to spin this item evenly and smoothly around its 360 degrees, and you divide that 360 degrees by the number of steps that it takes for your motor, and if you end up trying to do a split size that is trying to cause like half steps or 2/3 steps or something crazy like that, you might run into some like issues with it. So that was the answer that I got with split size is you take, so if your diameter is 100 millimeters, then your circumference is going to be roughly 314 millimeters, because that's pi times diameter. So you take your 314 millimeters and divide it by, like, say 5,000, if that's the number of steps per rotation. And these are all just like cursory numbers. Like, don't take it as like gospel or anything, but you're going to take that 314 divided by 5,000, and then you want to use a multiple of that number to make sure that you're doing like actual whole steps or multiple steps every time you do a split. Is that kind of?
Yeah, I feel like that's a good explanation. A good visual representation, right? So I have a cup here, and I have a smaller cup here. Your split size is you're going to get a different capable split size while still getting an even mark based on the diameter of this. So like a split size that works great for this cup won't necessarily work great for this cup because it is a significantly different size. And for the reasons Anthony explained. So really I'm going to do a video on this at some point. I'm still kind of testing, but the idea is you want to test split sizes based on your diameter, and you can get a range, right? So if, for example, like the old method that we typically go by, and it does work. Alex's method is basically set your split size to your line interval, and it'll be fine. So technically that works, and it's kind of like the fallback dummy proof method because, yeah, you're basically marking each of the individual line and moving. So the problem with that is it takes a long time, but you're gonna get a reasonably good quality. The downside to that is it's going to take forever sometimes, especially if you have a crosshatch, because basically if you're marking one line, imagine you're marking one line across the surface this way, and you go to crosshatch it. If your first hatch goes across, that means your crosshatch is going to go around the circumference basically, but you're only marking one line. So it's just going to make thousands of dots up one line of the cup, and it just takes freaking forever. So the bigger the split size you can do, not just for the sake of time, but you can balance your quality out with it too. Is some cups are just going to need a crosshatch, especially if you're working with the fiber where you just can't beat on it with like a CO2 or a diode and not mark the hell out of the metal.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need a crosshatch or a second pass, but sometimes a second pass at the same angle doesn't really do the trick, right? I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with this at this point, but maybe I'll do some testing on split size or split comparison for diameter and how I test that while you're doing your project.
Okay. And to answer part of your questions, I think split size is definitely, I think Kyle mentioned it too, it's definitely going to affect your speed. So the question is, and like he said, you want to balance the speed and the quality. Because I've run into issues where you get too big of a split size, and if there's any amount of taper to the cup, because the split is larger, more rotation, well, there's more surface area being covered on the large side than the small side when you do a larger rotation. So it's like you're going to overshoot the rotation on the smaller part, and if you do too large of a split. So you kind of got to find that balance. And one of the things I've found is like on a cup like this, where it's tapered. So a 5 millimeter shift in a point on this side is going to create a 6 or 7 millimeter shift in a point on this side in the actual area that's covered, because you're covering more of the surface area with a smaller rotation on this side than you are on this side. So or a higher percentage, I guess, or you could say, of the surface area. So if you're not, if you're doing too large of a split, then you'll end up with small gaps or overlaps depending on which side you're on. So you kind of want to balance the split size with the amount of forgiveness you can have with the rotations of the cup, I guess is kind of what I'm trying to say. I don't know the technical term for it.
No,
But,
it makes perfect sense.
And that's something that we can maybe do a demonstration on, and maybe kind of try and help find that that sweet spot, where you don't have to run, 0.05 splits and take hours to do a wrap, but you're not going to end up with choppy results either. So
yeah, some of my really early testing of doing more rotary stuff was mostly on the UV, where UV is already very finicky with your focal height, and so you can't really work around a large curve comfortably anyway. A lot of the cups I was doing or testing on were either tapered pint glasses, wine glasses, or like these weird tea mugs that did have a bit of a taper to them. And so a lot of the time when I was messing with larger splits, it ended up just frustrating me to the point where I defaulted to just using line interval for split size, or even double that. So it was getting 2 lines per split instead of 1. And I would just sacrifice an extra 10 minutes. And instead of doing a crosshatch, what I was actually doing was a second pass, and it was still faster than doing a crosshatch. Okay. But yeah, it's a rough time when you start compounding stuff like that.
Let's see. So diameter pi times pi divided by rotary steps is what Michael said. Yep. And then go sit down and watch your movie, okay? Then John said, how big of a deal is split size with tapered items? I think we kind of touched that. If you have a larger diameter, then it wouldn't overlap over mark on the smaller end. Yep. It would usually underlap, or you'd get gaps on it because the rotations on it are going to be larger on the small side than the large side. And then the inverse is using a smaller diameter leaves gaps for the large diameter. And I think it would overlap on the larger if you went with the smaller, right? Because you'd end up doing smaller rotations here, which would cause overlap on the larger one. If I'm thinking correctly, I might have it backwards too. Where
science.
I hate it. Sometimes it just screws me up so bad.
Either way you look at it, it's going to, whatever you tune your split size for on a taper, right? So if you tune only the top, your bottom isn't potentially going to match up perfectly. If you tune specifically for the bottom and you don't double check it with the top, there's a potential chance that you're going to be off. Whether it's bigger or smaller, my brain can't keep up with that right now, but yeah.
And Sam said, good info on the split size and crosshatch. I'm liking this geek out. Crosshatch is something I use a lot of. And fill hole shapes is something that I want to get into. Fill hole shapes is something I use the shit out of on my burn, because it kind of allows you to almost treat, if you're using like text or small individual shapes on a wrap or something along those lines. Like I did this cut for my uncle, and it was basically a list of names of all their grandchildren that started at the top of the cup and spiraled its way down. So instead of doing slices of the entire image the whole way down, what I did was filled whole shapes and had it would do each individual letter, rotate the cup a little bit, do a letter, rotate the cup, do a letter. And that ended up being faster than trying to like slice it all up and do a rotation around the whole thing. So it kind of worked out nicely. And that's something that I use all the time if I can. And it's kind of like a combination of like cylinder correction and using the rotary, because you can still spin the cup, but it's going to fill as much of an item as you allow it to, and you can put that in the parameters on it. So you can say if you want anything over or under 25 millimeters to be filled as a whole shape, then it's going to go through and fill each of those individually, and then slice up the other items that are larger if you have it. So
yeah, That's something I like to do with the CO2 Galvo too, is I'll mark basically an entire logo using like a faux project mark without warp correction, because depending on the design, it really doesn't need it. And it'll rotate to the other side and do the opposite side, whatever it is, name, logo, whatever. And you can really cut the runtime of a cup that would normally be like maybe 6 or 7 minutes down to like sub 4 minutes, 3 minutes, 2 minutes, depending on what it is. It's just absurdly fast depending on what you're doing. But you can't get away with that on every design sometimes.
No, like a full wrap, no way.
And I'm talking like 70 millimeters wide project mark, basically. And that's just kind of like, yeah, you know what I mean. But,
yeah. Let's see. Yuri, it's exactly what I'm running into with pint glasses. Yep, because of the taper. And that's, you got to kind of, I've tried splitting designs. I didn't get really far with that one. You can, yeah, it's just basically, I think what it boils down to is you're going to have to go with super small splits on something with an aggressive taper. And that way it'll just do lines that kind of more or less add up. And it just, and I think there's the taper tool in Lightburn. Would the taper tool help with a full cup wrap if you have taper on it, so that the design doesn't overlap, or would it end up leaving out a chunk of it, do you think?
I think taper
That's
corrects the look of an image while using a rotary. Yeah.
So it's not, it wouldn't help with like a full wrap design. Something I haven't tried yet. So
I don't know as it would.
Oh, okay.
I think it's more designed for like perceivable view of like a one-sided thing.
Gotcha.
I haven't really messed with it a ton.
Oh, and then John a few minutes ago did say, I realized Lightburn has a taper warp function in the laser tools menu. Could that be used to adjust for the taper? So it'll adjust for the taper if you're doing like cylinder correction or a small pattern on the rotary, like, because it'll skew the image and then engrave it so that it perceptually looks the same. I don't know if it's going to help with the whole wrap.
Yeah,
so
I don't think it would with the whole wrap. I think if you wanted to correct for a whole wrap, you would have to like adjust the elements on like the tapered side of the cup.
Gotcha.
Manually on like the width. 1 sec.
Sam said, it seems like rotary that can account for taper and automatically raise lower accordingly would be useful for engravers. Yep. John said that makes sense. I think so. Kyle's the Lightburn expert. He'll know. Yep. We're discussed that already. And the distances have the opposite effect, over, under, rotate. Yeah. Basically. So, does anybody have something that they want to see? Like anything in particular that they'd like demonstrated, or a problem they run into that you guys can't find like a workaround for, or anything like that? Okay. Sorry, I got the boys with me tonight, so it's a little raucous in the background. I apologize, but I think taper, it's like a trap correct would be messy. And he's back.
Sorry.
No, it's all
dog
good.
Was doing dog things.
Can't be any worse than the kids doing kid things.
Fair.
All right, so it looks like we're pretty much caught up. Alex said he doesn't think taper correct would work on an image greater than 50% circumference. So yeah, less than 50%. Yeah, greater than 50%. That still messes me up.
Yeah, me too. I think he's right. I think again, I haven't dug into this. I could be totally wrong, but it'll have to be something I experiment with. But I think he's right. I'm pretty sure the ideal use case for it is like working on a rotary, because otherwise you could do a project mark, and that would fix a lot of the warp. But it's like a project mark, but on a rotary. How about a flashlight, pumped argon, laser light show, or maybe try taper warp on a tapered cup? Scrap, of course. Yeah, we could probably try that. John suggested maybe we give taper warp a try on a scrap cup.
Give what a try? The tapered thing?
Taper warp, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I could give it a try. I repainted this, so.
How about a flashlight pumped argon laser light show, or maybe a taper cup? Yeah, I don't know about flashlight pumped argon. I do like me a laser light show though, for sure. And I've got this Yeti that I accidentally burned a little too aggressively. You can see. So
you do that on the fiber?
Yeah, I did it on the fiber. I didn't give it enough time in between.
White's a tough deal too.
Yeah, and that's why I've told people a bunch of times on Discord, like what I like to do on white and other lighter colors that are a pain in the ass is just do a black mark on them. So not intentionally burn the metal, but just get through and then just use the heat of the laser to darken the metal and melt off the powder coat. And it gives it more contrast, so it's easier to see. Just got to be careful not to overheat and
Cook
blow
it.
off that
Yeah.
powder coat. So it's a fine line to dance on, but it's it gives you a little bit where you're not having to use so much power to try and get through the powder coat that it's gonna zap it off. Also, one of the guys on Discord has an electro polisher that they use for welding, and it's basically you put it in some sort of like electrolyte mixture, and you rub it across the metal, and it actually gets rid of any of the metal darkening and annealing and turns it back to the stainless look. So
yeah, it like drops the oxidation layer.
Yeah, which is pretty cool. And I guess that also returns the stainless properties to it. I can't remember the word that I'm looking for. Normally you have to give it like a citric acid bath to restore the properties of the stainless steel. And when you use the electro polisher, it actually refreshes that too. So you don't have to worry about corroding on the stainless steel. So see, John asks, I'm asking because I'm setting up my EMP 50-watt fiber laser when I get back from my upcoming trip, and I have a regular chuck rotary and a pie burn rotary available. People use pie burns on fibers, right?
Yeah, why not?
It's a roller though, isn't it? The most pie burns.
Well, the grip is like the Talon,
right?
In that it's like a chuck with rubber bushings. But they both have a roller option.
Yeah. So I personally would prefer the chuck. I know there are some times when it's a little bit more difficult, but for the most part, especially with cups and whatnot, the chuck is just, for me at least, easier way to go. Yeah. I've had rollers with the diode, and I don't think I'd ever go back with a roller. I know a lot of people love them, and I know the CO2 rollers and stuff like that. A lot of them, they have like the wheels, and they're like a lot more smooth than your just regular hot dog rollers too. So I don't know. I haven't had a chance to get my hands on one yet, but if I do, it'd be interesting to try out. See if maybe it changed my mind about rollers, but I prefer grips.
I like the easy setup to a chuck rotary. It's a lot less guesswork. With a hot dog style roller. So what I was saying before, where you have to set your steps to get the rotation right. So on a chuck, it's literally, if it's 1-to-1, it's 1-to-1. Your steps per rotation are your steps per rotation. But on a hot dog roller, your steps per rotation, you basically evaluate it typically by making a square in your software that is a known quantity, like a known size, and you measure the distance of the mark from edge to edge around the curve until that's right.
Yeah.
So you keep expanding your steps or dropping them until you get the right rotation value. And that's how you fix the shrinkage or expansion of your mark until it's the right size. So
that's what I had to do. I had to do that in older software I was using before I converted to Lightburn.
Yeah.
And then with my roller, I had to do the same thing. Going to a chuck style just makes it so much easier. Even though like my RA2 Pro is technically not a direct drive, but it's still, you can do like, I would set it underneath the laser and put a piece of tape on it and put a dot where the laser was at, and then put in whatever the diameter of the cup was and make it travel that amount. And then if it overshot it, then, lower the steps or amount. And if it undershot it, then increase it. So that's another way of doing it too. Instead of burning a square, you just tell the laser to travel whatever the circumference of the cup is or the item that you're trying to engrave on is, and you see if it overshoots it or undershoots it.
Yeah.
So, well, it's essentially the same thing and just a different way of going about it. So,
yeah.
John says he has a hot dog roller for his Or tours, never messed with it, too busy with other stuff. It just, after so many cups got ruined, and like I really tried. Like with a cup like this, trying to do it on a hot dog roller, I would actually 3D print a collar to put on this end of the cup to make it the same diameter as this end of the cup so that it would roll evenly and not skip, because I would run into, like, since the hot dog roller is spinning, it's driving this at a certain speed, but it's going faster than this end. So like you would end up with like a chattering or the cup wobbling or the cup walking or any number of millions of things. So hot dogs grip shrinkage. Yeah. You guys are killing me right now. Yeah. Sorry for getting you excited.
Brutal.
Excuse me. So yeah, I tried to come up with a solution like that with 3D printing stuff to like make the diameters the same so there would be an even rotation. And that worked for the most part, but then like still it would want to walk and just do different things like that. So it's kind of a pain. The higher dollar ones like the Pie Burns and the Roto Bosses and stuff like that, where they have like the deal that clips on the lip to keep it from moving, and then they'll have things on the back to keep it from walking and all that. Those are great, and that'll solve a lot of the problems. So I think those are a great alternative. For fiber lasers, I just stick with the chuck. I love the chuck. So John wants to see if we can overcome taper. I'm going to have some glass cups. There we go. All right. So I have the glass pint glass. And this is where my handy dandy tape comes in. Very handy. This stuff works really well for doing like mock wraps or just seeing how a design looks engraved on a cup. If somebody has a logo they want engraved on something or whatever like that, then doing that.
Nice. Sam's asking, have you successfully purchased rejected cups or tumblers from manufacturers for cheap to practice on? If so, any recommended companies that do this? I've not, but I also haven't really looked. Have you checked that out?
No, I know. I mean, the thought never really even crossed my mind. Most of the time, I'll try to find them secondhand, like John said, get them from thrift stores. But
Yeah.
I've found that where I live, they want like premium money for secondhand cups at our thrift stores, which blows my mind.
If you go to like a Goodwill or a Salvation Army or something like that, they'll usually keep the good stuff and sell that, but sometimes they'll get some beat up stuff that have like nicks in it or dents or like the bottom's broken out or whatever.
So you get the rejects from where the thrift store rejected it.
Yeah. So if you get a good
smart
relationship with the staff there, instead of them just yeeting them into the dumpster, they'll take a donation sometimes and they'll give you what you're looking for stuff that just they wouldn't sell normally. So toss them like $5 for their time and get like a box of basically crap that they're not going to sell. But it gives you stuff to test on that's round. And what I've started doing, because spray paint's cheap, I'll actually take the CO2 Galvo and I'll kind of like project mark a cleaning pass on it and have the rotary rotate and do another 2 or 3 times. So it takes me like 2 or 3 minutes to basically clean this, and I'll take it outside upside down and I'll spray a couple of them. This is my only one I have available right now, but
so you use the CO2 to strip it and then you just go out and spray it again?
Yeah, like I wouldn't sell it. Like this isn't going to go to a customer,
right?
But it works great for testing purposes to make sure like a design's going to come out the way I want it to or whatever, because like it's not great for validating settings even because it's no longer even powder coat. Like spray paint is not like powder coat at all. But like to validate a design is going to come out the way you want. It's not going to have like lines where it shouldn't. It meets up correctly, whatever. That's what I do.
It's smart. Very smart. All right. So let's see. I can. Can't really see me, can you? Switch cameras real quick. I think everybody's probably tired of seeing my ugly face anyhow.
No. You're beautiful.
So there is...
Shine bright like a diamond, buddy.
There are my 2 fibers. Can be white marking, blue masking tape, yep. Or the black tape. Yeah. Tape, retape. Yeah, and that's the thing is like the tape's pretty cheap too. And you don't have to wait for paint to dry or anything like that.
Yeah.
So that's a viable option. The spray paint, a can of spray paint probably cheaper than using the tape. Just you have to be able to use spray paint and
Well,
wait for it to dry and stuff.
but spray paint's less versatile than tape. Tape is like king.
I don't know if you guys saw what I did or not, but I taped the inside of where it is. Whoop, there we go. So I taped the inside lip of the glass, so it actually gives something for the 3-jawed chuck to like purchase onto. So you see, I was able to just put that on there, and it's holding pretty decently. I wouldn't put a bunch of torque on it, but it holds up okay. So another use for it, I suppose. But
I was thinking about taking one of my D80 chuck rotaries because I have like 4 of them now, 5 of them, something like that. I was thinking about taking the teeth out and dipping, not the whole teeth, but cleaning the oil off and dipping the grip ends down into some like the hell is it called? Not Plasti Dip, Flex Seal, like the grippy Flex Seal. So it's kind of like rubberized, so it doesn't scratch up stuff on the inside when I grip onto it. I thought maybe that might be a nice alternative, and also give it a little bit more holding power as long as that rubber coating isn't covered in dust anyway.
Yeah, for sure. And that, I think that would be a very smart thing to do. The tape holds okay, but it will, if you give it enough work, it'll slide off. So it's not perfect. With glass, I'm always kind of cautious because I don't want to shatter the glass, obviously. So I have a D125 I use with my UV right over here. And so I'll use that when I did these glasses for a restaurant. I put a strip of tape around it and did it on the 125, and I didn't have any issues at all. One thing I did run into previously is like with the Arctic cups. If you look at the inside of them, they are threaded. It's not going to pull, is it?
Bump me off. There you
go. It's not wanting to focus. Probably because it's too close. But on the inside, it is it's threaded. And at first, I wasn't quite sure what to do with that. So I thought about, let's see, there you go. So the lid goes and screws on the inside instead of the outside like a lot of them do, or just fits on the inside. So after a bunch of trial and error, I actually figured out that with the rotary, there's like you can see on the rotary itself, there are these ridges on the jaws. And if I put a piece of tape around the inside of the cup, what I could actually do is close this up. And I won't put the tape on because I'm not worried about this cup getting messed up. But if I opened this up just a little bit and then spun the cup righty-tighty and then open it and spin it, I would actually end up with the threads threading into these lines on the jaws with the protection of the tape in between the two, so it actually hold. So then the rotary could do its thing and spin around. It's not on there perfect, so you kind of got to find the right balance. But actually being able to thread this on was a big game changer for me. And it's not always perfect, so you kind of got to be careful and make sure that it's not lopsided. But if you're gentle with it, you can actually find like a good balance of purchase and grip where you'll actually be able to spin that cup and not do any damage. Bunny Eater says he has TPU for his 3D printer. Might work. Hard to fit it though. Or maybe use soft tape on the threads or electrical tape. Yeah. Ninja Tech or TPU. Yeah, I think TPU could possibly work.
We got We Do Widgets Rob coming in. What's up, bud?
Oh shoot, I didn't see that. What's up, dude? Glad to have you, man.
And Mike C popping in. Or I should say coming back, because he was here earlier.
Yeah.
He might have been listening, though.
Michael said he uses 1/2-inch shrink wrap on the claws, which, yeah, shrink wrap. That sounds like a great idea, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Soften up the contact point anyway.
Yep. And if it's got any kind of like grippiness to it, it'll kind of help hold things in place. So Sam said, sorry if it was mentioned earlier, Anthony, where did you purchase that specific rotary? That specific rotary came with the laser when I bought it. And then the other D125 I have is the same. So lasersonly.com was the first one that I bought. And that one there is from SFX. It came with the SFX laser that I bought secondhand. So that's that.
Yeah. I don't know if they carry a D120 or not. They might. But I know Cloud Ray has at least a D100.
Oh, yeah.
No, they do. I just found it. They have a D125 and a D160.
Dang.
It's a biggie. And that is belt driven.
The 160?
Their 125 is too, I think.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. Yeah, funny enough, the one from SFX and the one from lasersonly.com are like literally identical.
Yeah, that probably means it's got at least a little bit of a gear reduction, which, I mean, for laser purposes, that's perfectly fine because it's not like you really need to worry about the belt slipping. We're not spinning it at like 30,000 RPM or anything.
Right, yeah.
So it's probably not a concern. It does have what looks like the same motor as that's on my D300 rotary table. But I'm happy to say I haven't had any problems running that on. So the driver that I showed you is the driver that came with that. I've had zero problems running it on the standard driver that came in any of my machines so far. And I did test driving it on 3 of them. So I don't think you would have a problem as long as you're already set up with a 2-phase 4-pin. You may have to wire it though, but it should come with the connector, I think. At least my D300 did.
John said vulcanizing tape. In the Air Force, we call it F4 tape. Saw a guy who makes cannons buy a huge one. Was that for a laser or for like a lathe? Because I think the lathe ones are a little bit different, right?
The rotaries?
For like CNC machines and whatnot. Like they
I
use
mean,
a different style, or
they're actually probably the same heads, to be honest. It's really the motor that's different. So the chuck ends up getting keyed onto a shaft and locked on. So that piece is interchangeable typically, but what's different is we're using like a standardized motor for like this industry. which can be controlled and driven by a stepper driver to a precise value. Whereas with like a CNC, like a lathe, they're usually much larger motors, with much more torque even, and capable of higher speeds.
Gotcha.
So like the chuck is rated for the speed, but I could tell you that belt drive on it would fall apart if you tried to run it at like 10,000 RPM.
Yeah, probably shred pretty quick.
Yeah.
All right. So did you have something you wanted to try and work on, or?
Yeah. So I'm kind of in beta stages on a design that I'm working on. So I'll probably try doing a full wrap with that and see how it looks.
Nice. So is this a sneak peek we get at a new design? Is that what you're saying?
If it comes out good, maybe. I test everything. I test everything that goes on my shop. So if it doesn't pass QA, it doesn't go up on the shop. But yeah, I think I'll give it a try. Why not? Bunny says a 10-inch chuck would likely break that small stepper motor. The one on the D125 and D160, I don't think it would actually, because the chuck is basically latched onto it's like rod. It's on a rod, basically. It's on like an axle, and then the axle is being belt driven by a big. It's like a 4-inch by 4-inch stepper motor. It's significant. As long as you're not underdriving it on amps, it'll have plenty of torque. It wouldn't serve the right purposes for a chuck. Or a lathe. For a laser, it's perfectly fine. You're not rotating stuff at speed on a laser. You're just positioning it. And really, the goal of going for such a large chuck would really to just get purchase on bigger things. If your rotary is big enough to lock onto whatever it is you want to mark, you don't need a bigger one. So, like,
I want to figure out a way to use a chuck or some sort of variation or modified chuck with like you've seen those like Yeti dog bowls, or Arctic makes them too.
Yeah.
I saw them pretty cheap, like for $8-9 at a Ross the other day, and I was like, man, it was like a nice powder coated one too. I was like, if I could figure out a way to get that on a chuck and make it work, that'd be probably a pretty decent racket, because there's two things people will always spend money on: their kids and their pets.
As somebody who has a new puppy this year, I can tell you that's the truth. I mean, if I was going to try and do it with the equipment I have now, because I don't have anything that'll lock that big, the only thing I could think of, like the inner tube replacements for like bike tires, like kids' bike tires. Take a clamp and like take the slack out of it and just stack a couple of them and like clamp the excess off the side and open the chuck into the stack of them and expand it into the inside of the bowl or whatever. That's the only way I could think to do it. But even then, like, it's like super ghetto. It's finicky. Definitely not going to be consistent. But for like a one-off, I'd probably do that rather than purchasing like a huge chuck.
Yeah, I wonder if like 3D printing would be an option. Like if you had a big enough one, or even printed it in sections, where I was talking about putting a ring on the outside of a cup to help level it for the roller rotary. Maybe if you threw together like a 3-piece that would snugly fit into the bowl, and then you could actually use your 3 jaws to clamp onto that, or maybe expand instead of like you open it up to make it clamp so that it doesn't pull the stuff in. I don't know. That'd be an interesting thing to try to figure out.
Yeah.
Mike C said 3D print a mandrel glue magnet on the end. Bunny Eater says Yeti has a new 12-inch bucket. That's probably $300. Dog Bowl's a case where the pie burn style rollers would shine. I think that would probably, that would probably be a really good application.
Yeah.
If you had one.
I need to measure my cup because I don't remember what I labeled it when I did it the other day.
All right. So excuse my slow pan. So I showed Kyle a picture earlier, but I haven't memorized this position yet. This is where the CO2 is going to go eventually. But boom, I have a selection today, so I'm gonna let you guys decide. We're gonna try the old taperoo. Never mind my White Claw there. We're gonna try the tapered pint glass, but I will let you guys choose also what other project we do. I have this stainless steel Yeti cup or can koozie, and then I have this bright yellow Yeti can koozie. This I think would be a good job for maybe the UV, definitely the diode. This one is like a rubberized deal. Like it's got a real rubbery finish to it. I've done some cups like this before. The diode worked excellently with it, but I got this for like $3.99 on clearance at Menards the other day. And it's kind of cool because it's got that like iridescent rainbow finish. Bunny Eater's on my Ryobi. Heck yeah, dude. I love Ryobi. I think they're one of the best tools out there for the buck. I mean, I could drop $1 million on a set of Milwaukee stuff, but I like the Ryobis. Okay. Yep, all the way up there. I see it.
Kill it.
It's too far for me to kill. Why don't you go watch your show, though?
You can kill it when it goes.
Okay, I'll keep an eye on it, and if it gets low enough, I'll smack it. All right, so then I have this that is a very iridescent greenish yellow outdoor revival cup that I got from, I think, Farm and Home on sale for like $9. A red polar camel, ribbed for their pleasure. A yellow, orangey kind of yellow, different kind of yellow, slightly. You can't really appreciate it via the camera, but this definitely has more of an orange hue to it. And then I've got this like ombre style blue on blue. So
nice.
Yeah, actually, it's funny to say you can spot that green anywhere. I think I could put a Ryobi logo on this cup.
Damn, dude.
That's dang near a perfect match, dude.
Yeah, for real. Safety yellow. Basically. Or safety green.
Like a greenish. Yeah, it's like people wear working on trees and stuff.
Yeah.
Let's see, John said I have a set of Ryobi tools. Nice thing is they're replaceable anywhere in the US at the big orange box store. Yep, exactly. For my needs, they're more than enough. They are really. I mean, I have what is it, Porter Cable. So in my previous life, I was a store manager at a rent-a-center. And try not to judge me too hard, but we carried these toolkits that were like a Porter Cable, was like a drill, an impact, a rotary cutter, a jigsaw, circular saw. Like it was a huge collection of tools for very low price. So I ended up with one of those. I am, yep. So yeah, I have a chunk of Porter cables and then the Ryobis.
Nice.
So I'm
I
gonna
skipped
reset
ahead a little bit here. So what I have here is an outline for my cup that I'm going to be marking. And what I did was it's 88 millimeters in diameter. So I went into the rotary setup menu. And if you type in the object diameter, it spits out the circumference. So you can just copy this value and make a box. And now I dump the circumference into the height and I'm all set. Then I just need the physical height of the cup for the width. Because remember, I'm marking sideways because of my rotary orientation. And then I'm just I gotta mess with my art here, but this is the next tile design that I had in the works. I was trying to get it done before Halloween. We'll see.
Oh, that's dope, dude.
Have to size it down, I think. But,
And that's one of your infinitely scalable ones?
Yep.
Hell yeah, dude.
Divide that by
That would look good on like mags too. I just bought a bottle of RIT at Walmart the other day because Bronson was telling me basically you strip down a P mag and then put it in a boiling pot of water with RIT in it and let it sit in there for like 15 minutes or something like that, and then pull it out and it dyes it, so you can just engrave off the color.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I actually happened to buy red RIT, so let me know when you. Yeah, RIT, R-A-T. That's how you spell it. It's for clothes. Like, I don't know. I grew up poor, so I knew what RIT was because we used to use it once our pants started to fade. Because my mom hated gray pants if they were supposed to be black. So you just basically boil a pot of water, drop some RIT. At this time, it was like a borax powder almost is what it looked like. Or actually, what it really looked like was Jell-O. So it came in a little box just like Jell-O. And you tear open the pouch that looked just like a Jell-O pouch, and you dump it in the water, stir it up, and then you put your cloves in it, and it re-dyes them whatever color you choose. So
I'm pretty sure that's the same dye they would normally use for tie-dye, right? Or maybe not.
Probably. I'm not sure.
Yeah. So what I did, if you guys were watching, so I have one of these squares. I'll drag in a fresh one and show you. But so if we take this design, right?
John confirmed tie-dye.
Yes. My days at working at a day camp for Cub Scouts paid off. I finally remembered something. So if I take this tile, right, what I can do is I can create an array. So this is what makes it infinitely expandable when you have like a seamless pattern like this. So you don't necessarily have to make it bigger or smaller physically to fill a space you want to fill. You just can multiply it. And the settings I'm using in the array tool are padding between edges is set to 0 on both X and Y. And that means they're basically going to butt right up to each other. And then what I can do is hit weld over here with everything selected. It's going to crap itself for a minute because there's a whole lot of little floating points in here, but it's going to try and combine everything essentially. And when it does that, it treats it as one shape or one object, I should say, which is kind of the goal. I'm going to let that.
Sorry, I think I missed it. What tool function did you just use?
I used the Lightburn array tool. So I basically selected my tile, my infinitely expandable design, and I used it to create an array. So when you click into array,
and did you weld it, or why did it say computing?
Yeah, I hit weld. So when you
gotcha.
When you're done with that and you have everything selected, you Boolean weld it, and it treats it as one thing essentially.
Gotcha.
Which is super important, particularly when you're trying to match things up edge to edge. because what ends up happening is if you don't do that, you end up with this basically every time you're marking something and you come up to a point where that object stops and the next one starts, even if they're butted up to each other, the software treats it as two different things because they're physically two different objects when they're not welded. So if your timing is off, if your settings are off, even when it would normally look good when you're engraving a single thing, when you go from ending a shape to starting another one that's butted up to each other, you end up with these like ghosting lines that don't look very good sometimes. So it minimizes a whole lot of problems just by processing it that way. So, yeah. So what I'm going to do now is just align these. Line right, line top. And what I actually want to do is take the height of this, and I'm going to anchor the top right because that's where we aligned everything to just now. And I'm going to set the height of my design to the same height as the template that I made. And if you scroll in here, let me grab both of these and move them off. So my template is kind of cutting off the bottom here. So what I can do is I can actually use Boolean intersect with both of these selected, and it hacks off this bottom piece that's outside the box. And now I have the correct height and the correct width. There it goes. So this is actually ready to run now. Just have to align it, but yeah. Yeah, Array is fantastic for jigs, John. Super, super good. Use it all the time. Circular Array too. So if you're getting started with your fiber, right, and you have a chuck rotary that can be pointed north, like perfectly upright, you can use your CO2 to cut rotary fixtures, rotary jigs that lock into the chuck. And circular array is the bomb for that. So good. So good.
I think the ones I have will stand up. I should probably give that a shot someday.
You should. You should. I'm in the process. I have it 90% designed. I have to finish getting my freaking 3D printer upgraded and set up again. But what I'm going to end up doing, you guys are just staring at my screen while I'm not doing anything.
Oh, sorry, dude.
No, you're good. You're good. I switched it to my face so at least they could see something moving. I'm just like, I'm not paying attention. So the idea was I was working on setting up a rotary fixture for cups so I could do 4 at a time for big batches. And that would obviously be project marking. That wouldn't be rotary, like round work, even though we would be using a chuck rotary to rotate 4 cups underneath. But let's say if we're only doing a one-sided logo and there was no rotation needed, it would be far more efficient to load up 4 cups at a time, run those while you're designing the next job, and then your change out time is now, instead of like every minute and a half to 3 minutes, let's say, your change out time is like 8 to 12 minutes, depending on how long it takes your job to run. So it allows you to get more done with less interruptions, essentially. It also allows you to pack and unpack the next 4 in the time that those would run, whereas normally the interruptions of you having to start and stop every minute and a half would cause you to be less productive. Just from what I've seen anyway.
Can you see what I did today?
Let's see
I
it.
don't know if you can.
Did you do a correct? You did a correction, huh?
Yeah, that 250 lens. I think that's a good intermediate lens, dude. It makes good power still. Like it chewed up my aluminum card on the 50 watt. And yeah, I think it's a good lens.
Yeah.
Have you set yours up?
Did I what?
Have you set yours up? The F380?
Not yet. Not yet. My fibering has been on hold. So I shared on the podcast a couple of weeks ago that I was like secret shoppering a brand for their customer service.
Oh yeah.
Because one of my machines has been down. And I don't want to describe exactly what's happening because I don't want to tip off any brands, but there may be a wider issue than just the brand I'm troubleshooting with. But as far as they know, I'm just some random dude who was, like their significant other got them a laser kind of thing. So their customer service has no idea who I am. They just know the symptoms and they've been troubleshooting with me for like a month. But it's an interesting situation. So the lens I was going to use the machine I was going to use it on is down right now.
Gotcha.
Because the 250 lens would have been an ideal lens for that machine for the project I wanted to do on it.
John said the 250 lens gives you about 8x8 square on the table. It's just shy of 10.
Yeah.
So there's 25 inch, 25 what 0.4 or something like that.
25.4. Yeah. So if there was what is it 10 times 0.4? So if there was another 4 millimeters, it would be 4 millimeters would be 10 inches.
Which I'm sure you could probably squeeze an extra 4 millimeters out of that if you really wanted to.
Potentially. Yeah.
I mean, normally the field size is, you got a little bit of wiggle room, but I'm good keeping it where it needs to be.
He says taking a month isn't good. If I could just, it's not good, and I'm not justifying it, but the issue that it is not something I've ever heard of in trying to troubleshoot thousands of people's problems. It's a very unique problem that is causing the machine to do something it shouldn't, which is basically rendering it useless. And to be fair on their part, it's not a regular problem. I won't sugarcoat it, though. It is very not good. I'm actually trying to help somebody in the community who has the same machine with the same problem, who's also troubleshooting with them, but like 2 weeks behind me. And because I was sick for a weekend, he actually caught up in troubleshooting because they figured out what they needed to look into next while I was sick. So thankfully he's moving forward, but he doesn't have backup machines like I do, right? So if anybody was going to move forward faster, I'm glad it's him. I'd rather take the back seat just because I don't need my machine to work. Because my business is servicing people in the community. Like I can live with that. his business is literally servicing customers, and that's his income. So,
I'm gonna clip that one. His business is servicing people in the
oh my
community.
God. So like, yeah, I make content and I help people. I don't need the machine to be up to make product. Like I that's not how my income works. I help people. I don't create product. So, anyways, the way it's shaping up, it's it's not a good situation, but we're finally
Yeah,
coming
sounds
to a head on what's going on with it. So I'm happy about that.
I mean, I guess getting answers is good for sure.
The
But
answer that it is, I'm thoroughly surprised. I can tell you that. It's interesting, to say the least.
well, I can't wait to see the results of it. You're doing a video on it, right?
Yeah, I've recorded like 95% of what I've had to do on the laser, between ripping it apart and ripping it apart again, moving it around, ripping it apart, ripping something else apart, testing particular components, putting them back together, shipping components out, waiting for components to come back 2 weeks later. Still not working, ripping it apart again. After we end stream tonight, I actually need to do some testing.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, I do not need to upgrade the power cord from 2-prong to 3-prong. It's not a grounding problem. It's a very large component, and it's not, if it is what it looks like it is, it's not the company's fault. It's the component manufacturer's fault.
Bunny Eater says you replaced all his switches, like your power switches. Please go.
Like your e-stop switch. I gotta say that when I did that on my CO2, it was incredibly difficult because of my fat fingers.
Yeah, dude, these things not conducive to working in tight spaces. Big old freaking sausage McMuffin hands.
Yep.
Yeah,
And
power switches e-stop.
my my carpal tunnel and my old age and my arthritis does not like that. So
No. You can have a water.
yeah, I can relate on that, Bunny Eater. It's not super easy, especially if there's like components on the inside, like right behind them, and you just can't get your freaking hand in there. It's brutal.
All right.
Yeah.
So I've got my. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, buddy.
All right. So I've got my light burn up. And we have. Dude, I never thought I would have to scroll. If you see down here, freaking scroll to get to a different lens or machine, but this is where I'm at now. So I was trying to tell somebody the other day what exactly I have, and I couldn't even remember all of my lenses. So between the two fibers and acquiring lenses, it looks like a 160, a 225, a 290, a 330, a 380, and a 420.
I'm now up to officially 12 usable lenses for fiber, although I do have 13. One of them is damaged, and it came that way. And if you multiply that across just my 4 fibers, that's 48 different devices.
Good grief. So you're like long scrolling to get to them.
Yeah, I just don't have them all imported into Lightburn right now. And then Bunny Eater, which lenses do you have? Answer, yes.
Yes, yeah, pretty much, man. Like, I do want to get a 70 still, just for like the coin challenges, and I just want to be able to like lightsaber my way through metal.
I might be
And
able to hook you up because I'm pretty sure I have 3.
all right, we might have to work out a barter here. And yeah, but I've discovered the easiest way is I had them all listed as field sizes instead of focal lengths or distances.
Yeah.
So I wasn't using the F value. I was using, like, for the F160, I had it set up as a 110. But I just went back and changed them all today so that they matched the lens instead of what the field size is. But this is kind of what I've decided to work with here is the power, the type of laser, and then that. And then you can see I have my CO2, a couple diodes, and then 2 UV lenses.
Since we're on the topic, you know what I'm excited about?
What's that?
So Lightburn, if I read it right, Lightburn is adding device support for rotary. So you can have a device profile for each rotary you have. So if you have, for example, you can't see it because it's off camera, but I have the Rotoboss Talon, right? That's a direct drive truck. So that's because the driver is set at 12,800. It's 12,800 to get a full rotation. If I plug in my D300 rotary table, that's got a ratio to it because it's belt driven. So that's going to be significantly more steps to be accurately set up. So I'm not going to be able to run that on this laser without reconfiguring it. Or I have to set up an entire another device to add to my list of already existing devices that just has its own like purpose-built device profile for just that rotary.
Wow.
So instead of having a device profile for like the combination of like CO2 and then this rotary and this configuration with this lens, it's just there's a device drop down for rotary, I think. If that's the case, and I read that correctly, then dear God, I'm gonna pop my desk off of the floor with my pants in a minute, because the lens device combo is already too much. When you start multiplying that by like how many rotaries you have, it's just gonna be like stupid. And then on top of that, I also have the you definitely can't see it, but I have the index way back there. You can see the powder coated red and black actually, but that's got a whole nother configuration set up too. So if I really wanted to use each of the rotary styles I have on each of my machines, I would be multiplying my 48 fiber device profiles with my 4 device profiles for UV and my 3 device profiles for CO2 Galvo times like 4 rotaries is just like, I'm pretty sure I would make Lightburn crap itself with like 250 device profiles. But anyways, I digress.
Yeah, that's a lot, dude. What do we got? Change the pin and you change the dip switches on the driver.
No. So you're not. So like on the Chuck style rotary, like I was showing you before, where it's if my driver is set to 12,800, then to get a full rotation out of my Chuck, it's 12,800 steps in the software. If I do that with the index table for Maxi, I forget the exact math now. I think it's 20-1 or something. I don't remember anymore. But I'd have to refer to my notes anyway. So it's a multiplier on the physical driver step setting. So if it's 12,800, let's say your multiplier is 20. So if you have 20 teeth to 1, you would be looking at a 20 times multiplier on your 12,800. So that's what you would put into your software setting to get a full rotation, which is basically how it's being treated as a flat table. Because if you think about the full rotation of a cup, you're basically taking the circumference and you're treating it as a flat object. The rotary is just turning it under the lens, and it's marking it line by line. With a table, it's doing that, but you're basically treating every object as a split mark. So in EasyCAD 2, it would be split marking, but if it was a rotation, it would be a rotary split, if you want to think of it that way. But Kyle's got so many combinations with different lasers, lenses, and rotaries. 2, I wish it was just 2. Yeah. So I hope that helps. So it really depends on the physical configuration of the rotary. So where my rotary table and my rotation rotary table and my indexing table, which goes in a straight line, and then my chuck rotaries, they all have a different software value that's needed. So I would either need a individual device profile for the combination of the laser plus the rotary, or I would need just a rotary device profile drop down. And I think that's what Lightburn's adding. If I read that right and I do have it correct, then I'm going to be a very happy man, because I don't want to configure my rotaries every time I use them.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. That's huge. I can't imagine how much extra work that is, just trying to keep track of all of your different. Holy cow, that's shaking, huh?
A little bit.
What in the world?
We got Mr. Bronson in the house now.
Oh, Bronson's here, huh?
Bronson.
Why is it like that?
Does it just not know if it's in like horizontal or vertical, so it's freaking out?
Yeah, dude, I thought I had it set up for landscape, but then it like...
Oh,
Crazy.
It hates that.
Yeah. That's nuts. Well, my overhead camera might be failing me today. Yeah, it really does not like that transition, does it?
Sim says camera is laser intensifying. It's fair.
There. I guess if I crank it like that, you can see it a little bit better, but...
Laser becomes more intense.
Enhance.
Well, I'm not going to validate whether or not this pattern is going to meet end to end, because that's going to kill me. But normally what I would do is take a piece of tape. Screw it. I'm going to do it. I feel like my talking is delaying the project. I'm just going to do it. I'm sorry, Anthony. Actually, I'm duplicating this off to the side, so if I screw this one up, I have a backup. I'm just going to take the end of this. Go down here. I'm going to take the end of this. All right. If we highlight those two, we can go into Edit. And I was wrong. Tools, cut shape. And we're going to go up here. We're going to do the same thing. Selection order matters. There we go. And I can make that a toolpath. And we're going to group that. I'm just going to kind of center this roughly because I need to know roughly where it's going to start so I can get the rotary lined up properly to the output so I know where to put the tape. So I selected this and hit P so it's centered. And I can select this and align top. And now this is all aligned. And I can move it left or right when I turn the machine on to frame it up. And now I can test to see if the ends are going to meet up on the tape since we're being complete about the project. Let me turn on my laser cam so you guys can see. Did I cut into what you're doing, Anthony?
Me? No, not at all, man.
Okay.
You're doing great. I'm just trying to get my file downloaded from Kyle's laser stuff on Etsy.
Ah.
Your number one source for infinitely repeatable patterns. I just bought the new plaid pack because he has a big sale going on. So if you have an Etsy account, go check it out. Kyle's laser stuff. And he has some awesome patterns that are laser ready. Unlike a lot of places you can try and buy garbage from that ends up not being laser ready.
I was hesitant to call it laser ready because you technically still have to do something with it. I mean, you could just burn it onto something if you wanted to, but like, I don't know. To me, laser ready means just burn it onto something. But the best way to get the most out of it, because they're all seamless patterns, is to do kind of something like what we did tonight, where you array it and fit a bunch of them together, and you kind of fill a big area with it, or make a cup with it, or do something with it, right? So I got my cup in. Yeah. Got my cup in. I got my duplicated pattern over here off to the side. And we have cut selected graphics on so I don't screw something up. And turn rotary on. And in a minute, I'm going to turn the machine on. So it might drown me out. But the idea is I'm taking the end of this part of the pattern, which is like 5 millimeters tall. And it's going to mark that, and then it's going to rotate all the way around the cup and then mark this 5 millimeter-ish section. And if they touch each other without overlapping too much, then we know we got the circumference right when I set the height. If it doesn't match up, then we're going to have to increase the height by that difference where they're separated. And if they're overlapping, it means we overdid it and screwed up. And we have to back it off and try again. But that's kind of the idea. And before it gets too loud, I'm going to throw my black tape setting on there, which is at least on the 60 watt CO2 Galvo I have. Ooh, that's not a great hatch angle. It is 2000 speed, 12 power, 25 frequency. Gives me a nice white mark on the black tape from Anthony. Bunny said a good review. Thanks, Bunny.
Yeah, Etsy's weird. They have to send you like an invite to leave a review. I was looking for it last night, and yeah, it says sometime in the next 60 days it'll send you a link to do the review. So definitely, as soon as that comes through, I'm going to be leaving you a good one.
Well, don't feel obligated. If it's crappy, you can tell me it's crappy, and I can try and improve it. Make
It's
me
crappy.
earn
I'll
that,
tell you it's crappy, but I'll still leave you a good review.
make me earn that good review. All right, I'm gonna turn my machine on.
Good thing Alex isn't here to hear you say that.
I'm gonna turn my machine on.
Make me earn that good review.
I mean it. I believe in. I believe in good work deserves a good review. If it's crappy, don't leave a good review. Well, I'm pretty far off. So what I'm gonna do is to make this a little more sustainable for framing. I'll make a box there and frame the box. And aha. We need to go to the right. Oh, it would help if I was in focus.
All right, and I think I will.
All right.
Yeah.
Perfect. So I can get rid of my little framing box. We're going to grab that. And I'm going to turn on my fan. And I'm going to go ahead and make sure my rotary is good. 88 diameter. So I've already kind of determined this is like a happy starting medium for me to get a minimal good design. So we can cover that another time though.
Hey, sorry. You couldn't hear me, could you?
No.
Yeah. As you can tell by the random screen shifts and everything, I'm still trying to figure all this out.
Oh, you're good. I went to go start it and I forgot to put tape down.
Oh, shoot. Yeah. Don't want to do that. John said, thanks for reminding him about your Ultimate Plaid bundle. I'm going to try putting them on stuff later this year. Yeah, that plaid stuff's going to be awesome come like Christmas time, fall time. I think that's going to be real awesome. And Bronson said I'll need to teach him the ways of the tumbler when he comes down. Yeah, I can't wait, dude. Bronson's going to come down for a little visit. All right, so Kyle's getting his stuff ready. This is his pie crust, is what he calls it. When you download it, it says pie crust swatch. And so here we are. And you open up the array tool. And we're going to do, let's see. Let's go 3 rows 5 columns. And then make that spacing 0. Boom. Look at that sexy beast right there. Some good looking stuff. Move that to page center. Might need to add some. Is there a way once you've done the array of adding more, or is it just gonna do an array of the array?
You can array with the array to make it bigger if you wanted.
So it's like arrayception.
Yeah, if you want to.
All right. John said, I've got a lot to get done, but I have a fused glass kiln. I want to see if my Aeon Nova 14 can engrave fused glass things. Nice. Andrew Foot showed up. Andrew and Kyle up here burn the midnight oil, tilt it more, and rotate at 45 degrees. You can add more if it's a virtual array easily. Are you talking to me or Kyle? Add more, tilt it more, and rotate at 45 degrees. Not sure what he meant by that. You're asking me to add. Oh, if I can add it to an array.
Yeah. So if you haven't welded these together, you can just select, like, if you wanted to make it like another row on the bottom, you could select the bottom row and array it down again for another row.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that. That's smart. All right. Looks like you got your tape laid down.
I do. So I'll go ahead and hit start. Actually, yeah, we're good. And there it goes. That's done. So I can go ahead and check that.
All right. So, sorry, my big body was blocking that. It's 150 millimeters in height for that glass.
So we got a pretty decent match up there. I do need to make it taller by a hair, though. So that was 276.46. It's literally like one pass bigger. So I'm going to make the actual one I engrave 0.96. It's like a 0.5 millimeter. And that'll be fine. So there we go. So I made this just basically a 0.5 millimeter taller to fill the gap there. And I'm just going to run it. I'm going to get rid of this. It's going to go in its place. And we're ready to run. Should I run my job or should I wait for you to run your job?
Oh no, go ahead, dude. Don't wait on me. I'm slow.
No, you're not. Oh, I forgot. I gotta change my settings. Derp. So go down here. And these are currently the settings I'm using. So 1000 speed, 80 power, 7 frequency, 0.06 line interval, bidirectional. We're going to give it a go.
That is so fast, dude. I'm jealous. I need one of those CO2 galvos. These things are freaking awesome.
Yeah, I enjoy it. I'm curious to see how the detail is going to be on this. I don't know if it's going to be too fine a detail. So.
Is that glass or metal?
That's metal.
Oh, okay. I couldn't tell if it was a reflection or shiny metal or if I was like seeing through that surface.
Yeah, I don't know how well this is going to look when it burns off. This is a different spray paint than I normally use, so probably going to look like crap. Michael says, Kyle, what's your shop name? It is Kyle's Laser Stuff. I can pull up a link for you, but it's just Kyle's Laser Stuff at Etsy.com. If you use the link in the live stream from Tuesday, I don't know if it'll work or not, but it might save you 20% or 15% or whatever the percentages off is for the channel on top of the 50% off sale. I don't know. I haven't tried, but it might be worth a shot.
I just realized with this chuck and this tower, I may not get enough height with this particular lens. And I'm locked out about 80 millimeters too low. And I didn't even think of that. What a knucklehead move. There's no way I'm going to get that much space. I totally forget that I don't have the riser on this laser, dude. So back to the drawing board on that one. It's 150 millimeters. I can switch lenses. Just got to go to this guy. Oh, page center. Oh no, I went F160 like a knucklehead. I need to go to the F. The 330 is probably not going to be good either because the 330 358 millimeters, which I have 343.
Oh.
Man, oh man. Who was it? Do you remember? Was it Silent Manufacturing? Is that who was selling the spacer?
Silent makes, I think he does 100 and 200 millimeter.
I'm gonna have to hit them up and right, so it looks like that'll fit. So I'll just have to switch rotaries real quick. So let's go ahead and switch to your view while I unscrew this up. Looks like it's coming through real good.
Yeah, I'm hoping it wipes clean nicely. We'll see. We're almost a third, maybe a little over a third of the way. Bronson says, Kyle, is that the new Rotoboss Chuck? Yes, that is the Talon.
Does Bronson have any questions about rotary? Oh,
I don't know. Hit us with them, though, if you do.
let's see. If you guys have any questions whatsoever, you want to see something, just let us know. I'm going to be switching my rotary from the 50 to the 30 because I forget focal length or focal distance is a thing.
It happens.
And if you ever find yourself needing more height and you have a 500 millimeter tower, I think he has an Etsy shop, right? Since the marketplace is down.
He does, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll find it.
Look for Silent Manufacturing on Etsy. And he makes these awesome. Honestly, I wasn't exactly sure what to think of them when I first saw them because it looked like there might be like some sort of maybe a stability issue if you were to put your machine on there. But you can see here on my 30 watt, you have these machine cylinders that bolt to your base plate and then they bolt to your tower. And it gives you 100 millimeters of extra Z height, which is pretty much exactly what I needed in order to do cups and whatnot on the rotary with this machine and a 300 millimeter lens. So remember, your mileage may vary because each machine and each lens, the focus length differs a little bit. So mine is 471 millimeters. Yours might be something radically different. So it just depends. But go back to Kyle. That's coming along nice.
Over halfway. You can, if you look carefully, you can just barely see some of the split mark testing, or not split mark, but the split size testing I was doing underneath the spray paint that I spray painted over, which is kind of fun. Bronson says, also any recommendations on how I should store this many tumblers? Because he's doing 2,000 tumblers and getting a multi-roller with a 1,200 millimeter a second CO2. Should I get a CO2 galvo also and make a jig that can do multiple at once? So if I was doing it, I would be doing it with like a 60 watt CO2 galvo personally. Although I feel like it might be interesting if you got the settings tuned in for an Aeon. I could like race you for 4 tumblers and then change them out so you gets like 12 done at once or first, you know? That might be interesting. Yeah, 84 boxes of tumblers. It's. I hope they're willing to let you do them in batches. Are they one-sided or two-sided? The engravings.
I told you guys, no more asking for free.
So this is interestingly enough at 10 minutes right now. I still have about 25% left ish or so. And the reason why it's actually taking longer than if I was just marking the entire cup clean with the same settings is because of the jump settings and how frequently the laser has to turn on and off and resettle before it starts marking again.
Interesting.
Yeah. Bronson says two-sided, roughly 3-inch square on both sides. So a rotary is going to be better than if you were project marking. So because it means less potential for screw up once you have it set up, because you can drop the cup in and not have to worry about aligning the second side to the first side. Because if you're off by a few degrees and it's noticeable, it's basically now a throwaway. So maybe the multi-roller would be a better idea. It's basically the multi-roller is set up so that you're doing 6 individual cups on their own rollers. And you're basically, I think it does them 2 at a time. Maybe it does 1 at a time. I don't actually know. I've never seen them in use. So maybe just for processing time, that might be better. Sam says, Starry stepped away. What brand rotary is Kyle using? This is the Rotoboss Talon. Andrew says also, if you haven't accounted for it, account for 10% mess ups when you buy the cups for your pricing. I'm pretty sure the school is providing the cups, though I don't actually know. Bronson, Mule, but yeah, account for mess ups. You gotta account for some of that. If they end up coming out good, then cool. But there's shortages sometimes for that. They'll be upgrading to the Mirror 9. And yes, they are providing the tumblers. Yeah. So just make sure they understand that not all of them are going to come out perfect. There's going to be a small percentage of screw ups.
And these are purple, right, Bronson? Because it's the school color. I think that's what he said was purple. Which, if it's a like darker purple, shouldn't be too bad of a color.
Yeah.
Especially with CO2.
Yeah. Nice, easy. We're going to start seeing that first side coming around pretty soon. Can just make it out.
I love that powder. That powder. I love that pattern. I hope it makes it, dude. I want to be able to get that off your shop.
Yeah, I'm hoping it'll be done soon. I there's some stuff I want to maybe change about it. We'll see. I got to see how it comes out. This is the first time I'm physically engraving it. We are at 14 minutes and 20 seconds, and we have 2 more splits to do. 1, 2. 14 minutes and 25 seconds of full lapse time for a full wrap that had a lot of jumps in it.
There's a lot of detail in there, so I mean, I wouldn't be mad at that time personally.
Yeah. Let's see. Sorry, I'm doing this backwards. I can't see what I'm showing.
All right, so I switched to the F225.
Might be a little overburned. Let me wipe it clean. We'll see. Got my LA Awesome and some paper towels.
The moment of truth.
Turn everything off so it's not deafening. Yummy.
What are you using to clean that?
Just some LA Totally Awesome. I got some nasty leftover coating that I didn't completely burn off and clean. I kind of spray painted over residue, which kind of isn't helping my case here, but let me see if this will. It's kind of all right. I think I need to maybe lighten up the details. It seems like an awful lot of missed areas. My timing also, I think I need to finish retuning because I'm burning out some of the extra details, I think.
Is there a negative version of the file?
I can make one.
I wonder if that would make any difference with the details getting. Of course, the timing issue is going to cause a lot of that, but. All right. So got that.
Yeah, not bad. If we, I'll go over to the design again. So on the design, there's an awful lot of like burning out. These tiny little lines are getting just dropped off because of, we don't need that. That's in the way. These tiny little lines in here are getting kind of burned out.
Yeah.
Because my timing's off a little bit. There also is just a really friggin' fine detail. And a CO2 Galvo has a dot size that's like twice the size of a fiber. So yeah, for what it is, it's not awful. Some of the bigger skulls with less detail in them came out pretty nice. So I'll have to rework it a little bit. Yeah, inverting the image. It might. Didn't even need magic eraser. I mean, I could scrub it off, but it's probably going to take the paint with it because these are just spray painted. Bronson says she said I'd get 36 done per hour, including all the extra stuff. You're going to get more than 2 done. Well, you would get 1 done every 2 minutes. Or 1.5, 1.25, 1 and whatever. You get more than 1 done every 2 minutes. That's really fast for a 2-sided design. Yeah. Oh, we'll see. If you can, so here's the thing, right? So if you can do it in such a way that you're burning more than 1 tumbler at a time, so you have 1 rotary or 1 tumbler here and 1 tumbler here, and they're in a direct straight line, and you can burn a line across both of them at the same time, you're effectively going to increase your productivity by like 50 to 70% because most of the turnaround time is from the head going back and forth and changing direction, usually on like an older laser. The newer lasers with the hybrid servos or the servos are very, very fast at accelerating. They have a lot more torque, so they can change direction a lot faster. So they're going to maintain their speed a lot more frequently compared to like my Blue Poo back there. They're much more comparable to a CO2 Galvo. They're not as fast as a CO2 Galvo, but they're still fast as hell. So if you have the ability to set up your rotary with more than 1 tumbler and stack them and do the 2 of them at the same time, it's almost always going to be the fastest way to complete your job. And I think with the multi-roller, I want to say it's 2 rotary or 2 tumblers at a time. And then it does the next row of 2 and the next row of 2, and then you have to swap out, I think. But again, I don't have one and I don't know firsthand. Staring college too, but I'll make it work. I got an office space where 24/7 access key and card. Nice. I'm glad they hooked you up with an office and gave you a space to work. That's really cool of them. Yeah. It's going to be an interesting job. Like I said, I hope they're giving you the ability to batch them. Because if you can get like a quarter of them done and out of your way, it's going to free up. I mean, just the ability to mentally free yourself of a quarter of those at a time is going to feel really good. It gets them out of your workspace. And it'll also give you a time frame on how many work days you're going to have ahead of you to complete the 2000.
So there's my array. I got the lens focus. What's up?
Knock me off. Make you big.
I don't know.
On the bot. Yeah, there you go. That works.
Hey, Vinny's here.
Vinny.
All right. So it's not showing the secondary windows, so I'm going to have to share screen, entire screen. Oh, wrong machine though. Not going to. So when I go to light burn, now you can see the windows that pop up, right?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So this cup is 97.4 millimeters in diameter at the widest point. So that makes it 274.575 millimeters in circumference. So I'm going to mark where the laser beam is at. And then jog it. And it should make 1/4 rotation if my steps are right. Boom, spot on. All right. I just want to make sure my steps are right. I had to set this up as a new machine because of the lens size and all that. So by doing our math that we did earlier, we have 32,000 steps per rotation, which is what our driver is set to. Our diameter is 874 or 87.4, which makes our circumference 274,575. So if we take, where's my calculator? 274,575. I could divide it by 32,000, but then I'm gonna have to do some multiplication to get it to a decent size. I'm just gonna divide it by 32. And that's be 8.58. So I could do a split size of like 0.858, or I could do a split size of 8.58. So the first time I'm going to do 8.58. We'll do that as a split size. We're going to do no overlap, and I'm going to run it, and we're going to see what it looks like from top to bottom with our split size. So
Before you do,
yeah.
You actually, so I can tell you grab the AI version of the file because you have an orange line.
Uh-huh.
You're going to want to delete the orange line and then combine the black layers or black objects.
So get rid of the orange line.
Yep. So when you import the AI file, even though I export it as a toolpath, Lightburn basically auto assigns it to the first matching color when it imports it, and that's orange. So yeah.
So just shutting off the tool line should be okay. It's not going to interfere with the actual design.
You want to turn off output on the orange.
I want to turn off what now?
Output on the orange.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
And then you want to weld the black layer together.
Yeah. Okay. That explains why it wouldn't weld earlier.
Yeah.
See, it did this though.
It's because you still have the orange. Control Z. So ungroup everything.
Oh. So just.
Yeah. Control U. It'll ungroup it. And then you want to delete the orange out of the design. You can turn off show on the black, and the orange will be in the middle. If you turn on show on the orange. Yeah. So you can highlight the orange from the center and just yeet those.
All right.
Oop.
Oh, no. What did I do?
I think you might still have them all highlighted. Yeah. Try it now.
There we go. I thought I had. What in the world?
Oh, you did still have them all grouped still. Control Z again.
Oh, okay. That's what happened. All right.
Yeah. Just hit Control U a bunch of times.
So we're gonna
ungroup. Yeah, ungroup. Yeah, there you go. You got it. So if you hide the black layer now.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then show the orange, you can delete the orange and then group it. There you go.
All right. And then I don't have to group it to welder, right?
Should not. Well, yeah, just weld will
There we go.
auto group it. Yeah.
All
And
right.
see how it's all good now.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, dude. I don't know how I screwed that up so bad.
All
but
good.
I did.
All good. Now,
So if I opened the light burn one instead, then it would have been fine.
or you could use so there's one that's called large pattern that you can snip whatever size you want out of too.
Oh, okay.
The large pattern one does not come with a toolpath one, a toolpath or orange line. It's just because when Lightburn imports an AI file, the swatch of the pattern has a toolpath on it from when it's exported. When Lightburn imports that, it assigns it to a cut layer, and orange matches it. I don't know why they do that, because I export it from Lightburn when I test it, and it just is what it is. It's how it reads the AI file. I am going to be adding Lightburn Art Library for all of my packs too pretty soon. I'm still working on it, so it's not in any of them yet. But unfortunately, because of the way some of the designs are, where it has voids on the edges sometimes, I have to have a toolpath there, or else it will when you run the array, it'll smush the pattern and it'll overlap where it shouldn't on some of them.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So like on the one you're doing now, it wouldn't be a problem, but there's one with a like vertical lines, and it would cause, on the inverted style of that, it would cause an overlap on the right side of the pattern. So you'd lose an entire line.
I think I figured out what's wrong.
What's up, bud?
I think my axis is messed up on this for some reason.
Oh, is it like framing the Y on the X?
Yeah. It's framing the wrong way. I gotta go change my mirrors. Let's do that. So if I do F1 now, boom. All right, cool. And it's inverted. All right. So then we should be ready to go then.
Bronson says when he's coming down, he's buying your tape out.
He's buying what?
He's buying you out of tape. He didn't actually say that. I changed what he said.
Oh.
He says he wants to buy a lot of your tape, though.
So get a silver. I have a silver Sharpie. I could actually see the black mark on the black tape okay too, because it was shiny. So that worked out pretty good.
Fiber makes a really nice white mark on the black tape too, though.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think that was when I made the dot on the tape, so I could see if I made a full revolution or not.
Yeah.
But I might be wrong. Oh no, that's fine. All right, so we're gonna get that running and see how it goes. And it is not going.
Oh.
Let's go to Rotary. There you go. Like I said, brand new machine profile. So let's try that again.
It's doing a thing now.
Yeah, I had it set to x-axis instead of y-axis because like I said, I just set that up not too long ago. So this is going with that large split size, and I think this will help accentuate that what we were talking about before with the tapered item and the overlap. I was when you made that dot. Okay, yeah. Yeah, the black actually shows up pretty good on it, surprisingly. So
yeah. To any of the guys that did buy any of my packs, some of them are in the community here and some of them are not, but in the readme file there's actually a Discord specifically for my shop. So if you need support for anything, if anything's being weird for you, if you have feedback and you want me to fix something, I can send you an updated file or whatever. If it's just being weird for you, send me a message there. That is by far the best way to get support. You can message me through Etsy too or whatever, but if you join that Discord, you could do it in the LE Discord too, but the context is going to be completely lost. Nobody's going to know what you're talking about. But whatever you prefer. If you do want that secondary line of support or a direct line of communication to get that fixed, pop into the README. There's a Discord link you can join. I have a support section. I have a feedback section. I have a request section. So whatever you need, just let me know.
get out. All right, so it looks like, oops. So you can see there, it's kind of accentuated, but those larger splits, you're getting a lot of overlap at the bottom. So the large split, we're getting a lot of overlap at the bottom, not gaps. So I guess when we're talking about that at the beginning, I was wrong. John was right. There's a significant amount of, there's some overlap on the top. So it looks like I need to fine tune some stuff. But yeah, the Aeon can use an alternate air source and the Rotobots can need to be adapted. Ask Jason for the lowdown on that. Yeah. Yep. You can see how using a larger split size can speed things up if you have it all calibrated properly. Because we are running at that's the downside. Oh, here we go. Elapsed time 3 minutes 48 seconds, and we're 2/3 of the way through.
Yeah.
So If this was a perfectly cylindrical cup, that'd be a whole different story.
Yeah.
So,
Bronson says,
there's-
"Oh, go ahead. Sorry."
oh, I was just gonna say, I think we've gone far enough where you can see what the effects are.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna take a fresh piece of tape. What did Bronson say?
Bronson said he's thinking about selling his 100-watt Ohmtech with the water chiller, air tools setup, Rotoboss Ascend. He's used maybe 100 hours on everything together. It cost a little over $6.5K. What should he sell it for? And John said, keep the Rotoboss and the air tools as they can be swapped over to the new Aeon.
Oh, that's what John was talking about.
If you're talking about the Ultimate Air Assist Cuban, leave that on the Ohmtech. You're not going to need it on the Aeon because it's already wired up. It already
The
has.
Aeon's got the plumbing for running outside air.
Yep.
Nice.
It's already got the the bypass and everything are all wired in. It's good to go.
Oh, that's dope.
Yep. So no need to stress on that. You're good to go on that. But I would keep the Ascend. You're probably going to need an adapter because usually Ohmtechs are wired up for standard 4-pin, which is a GX16. The Aeons use a bigger 6-pin. They're still 2-phase, so they'll be compatible with your motor, but they have an additional 2 pins that provide. It's basically a ground loop that tells the laser that you're plugged into rotary, so that it knows to pass the instructions to the like that setup. Yeah, Ann's not a 4-pin. It's a 6-pin, but it's compatible with a 4-pin. You just need an adapter. Where should you sell your Ohmtech? eBay? Or if you go on the LMA, we have a buy-sell trade section you could throw it on. Facebook Marketplace too, because then you don't have to worry about shipping. If it's eBay, I would 100% do local pickup, screw shipping it.
Yeah.
Because then you can, yeah. Like the last thing you want to do is ship it, and then like the guy claims that it was shattered to pieces when it got there, and then you're just out all of it. Yeah, local pickup only would be my suggestion.
Yep. And that's a good machine. It should get picked up fairly quick, I'd imagine. I mean, I see machines come and go. I'm only a couple hours south of Bronson, so I mean, I see machines come and go in my area on Facebook all the time. So I would imagine that he'd probably be able to get rid of that pretty quick.
Yeah. You could also keep it too, so you have a backup machine if something goes down, you know.
Just rent a storage, run a power cord to it. You can put all your cups and your lasers inside the storage. Just go out there, run them real quick, lock it up when you're done. Just don't forget to pay that bill. So you see how with the smaller splits, it's not as noticeable. So
Yeah.
you're not getting the overlap. So that's what we were talking about at the beginning was like 5.5. No, it's not the way you drive, Bronson.
Yuri said, throw a piece of plywood on top. Boom, you got a table.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you can see from what we were talking about at the beginning is, you know, the larger splits are good if you have a good, perfectly cylindrical object that doesn't have any differences in diameter. But here you can see I took the splits from 8.54 to 0.854 millimeters. So it's doing almost a millimeter per split, which for powder coat could get kind of tricky, but not too bad. Obviously, with what like Kyle's working with the CO2, I think it'd be great. 0.8, 0.9 millimeter splits. Is that something that would be realistic on the CO2 or?
Yeah, CO2 Galvo.
Yeah. Yeah, the machine you were.
I was doing 0.48, I think. Yeah, I was doing 0.48 and I was getting pretty reasonable results on something with a taper.
Yeah.
If you're doing something so like bigger, you could go bigger if it's like a standard cylinder, not taper.
If you're trying to speed run it, what kind of splits do you think you'd use on that CO2?
I mean, you depending on how well your lens is tuned, and if you're really good at getting your focus set just right, you could probably multiply that by 10 or 20 easily. Could do like a 5 millimeter split if you really had it tuned.
Nice.
And it would just blaze through it. But if you're doing a full wrap, if you're not doing a full wrap, I would just project mark the whole thing. I would project mark it and then set it up so the file would rotate 50% of the way around the cup and do the other project mark if it was like a two-sided cup.
Yeah.
And then it'd be way faster because it'd be treating it as one object. You wouldn't have to wait for the rotary to turn.
Very true. All right, so we're getting toward the end. Got 5 minutes and 40 seconds so far. Maybe about another 10 or 15 seconds left.
It just occurred to me. I realized why my timing is so messed up.
Why's that?
I opened Liper and I went to the device profile before I turned on the machine. And I think it locked the default timing settings in. Which has been an issue I've been having since 1.6.03. I have not had that problem on older versions, but you know.
All right, so there's a little tiny bit of a gap here in the middle and toward the bottom. It lined up pretty darn good up top. Still a little, maybe 0.7 millimeter gap there. But you can see it's squished up down toward the bottom, but at the top it's pretty good. So I guess what I was kind of thinking about earlier was if you were to if you were to like cut a taper line, right? And then expand it toward the bottom to like account for the taper. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So so they would like basically combat the it would combat the way that the cup wants to squish down. You know, I don't know if I'm doing a good job at explaining this. So
you're doing a better job than I can think of at the moment. So
it's getting late. But yeah, see, it gets squished down toward the bottom, so you lose details versus the top. So if there was a way to, in light burn, like taper the image and then open up the image so it was square again. Because I think if you just tapered the image, you'd end up with a wide gap at the bottom. So you'd end up with like a triangular gap because
Yeah.
it's not going to travel the full circumference.
It would leave like a pizza slice.
Yeah, exactly. So if we could figure out a way to figure out like a way to taper it and then figure out a way to open it up, that would be awesome.
Yeah. Is Bronson giving you a giggle? I just read what he wrote.
What did he say? Hot take: buy a bunch of diodes and run the cups on most of the diode farm, like a 3D print farm. Hey,
You would be at it for a really long time. You'd have a lot of cups going at once, and you would probably give yourself an aneurysm.
You'd need like 15 diodes and 15 rotaries, and then you would literally just walk from machine to machine in a circle in your room, just going and swapping stuff out.
I know. Since we're on the topic, Bronson, do you have a game plan for how you're going to exhaust out of the office that they gave you? Because that's going to be really important. John says, start drinking liquor now if you're going to do a diode laser farm. Yeah, basically.
He's only like 17 and 12 tenths, though, so he can't.
Yeah.
I mean,
all right, good. Just making sure, Bronson.
all right. So is there anything anybody wants to see? Any ideas you have? Bronson, 19, going to be 20 in October. Oh yeah. Nice. So in a year and 3 months, I'll buy you your first beer.
Yeah.
Question: have you found a specific setup that auto loads a rotary pretty good? I wish. I got a 5-year-old who works real cheap. All you gotta do is feed him every once in a while.
Goldfish. Goldfish is payment.
He loves goldfish. He's a cheese fan.
And Oreos, especially lasered Oreos.
Lasered Oreos, yeah.
There are some auto-loading rotary setups, but usually they're reserved for like pens. They do have the spring-loaded rotary setups that are designed for doing like wine glasses and this kind of stuff. Usually you have to 3D print your own cones and flats because the ones that come with the kit aren't big enough. But the problem with those is the failure rate is really high. So you're going to lose a lot of money getting it tuned. And even when it is tuned, like a normal production run failure rate is going to be under 5%. From the people I've seen with those kind of setups, you're talking like a 15 to 20% failure rate. So you're really burning your margins badly. So it's really not normally worth it. Yeah.
Bronson's lame. He says running's better than alcohol.
I wish I could run. The arthritis in my ankles and feet just don't let me. No problem.
Bunny Eater asked, quick question, since you guys have so many fibers, ever run multiple jobs at the same time on one computer to different fibers work? Okay. I've had my fiber, my ultraviolet, and my 80-watt CO2 all cranking work out at the same time. on a cheap laptop, like $250 Best Buy laptop that I'm on right now, and it didn't have any hiccups or slowdowns or anything like that.
Yeah.
Go watch your movie,
Lightburn's really good about like keeping everything pretty low key, single threaded.
please be listening.
It'll burn up RAM as you run more instances, especially depending on the design that you're running. But everything is processed as
It'll
it's
be done.
run. So like on EasyCAD, it would, the reason why your EasyCAD files were enormous and the reason why EasyCAD so frequently crashed when you ran something that really didn't seem like it was a very complex design is because it was real-time mapping out all of the coordinates and the lines for your hatch patterns for whatever your design was. And it stores that in memory, like before it's processing the job. It doesn't batch it out ahead of time, or it doesn't batch it out as it's processing different segments of the job like Lightburn does. Lightburn's just far more efficient. And the other thing is EasyCAD, you just can't run more than one laser per instance of EasyCAD 2, which you can only run one in Windows without some really nasty effery. But
That wrap that I just ran in 5 minutes on Lightburn, that probably would have crashed 2 or 3 times on EasyCAD. Just a full wrap, head to toe, full around. Like, I don't know how many times I would try to run something like that, and EasyCAD would just crash.
Yeah.
So,
so Lightburn, it's just far easier. You open a second instance, you tell what device you want each instance to use. You can start one job, prep the next job, hit start on that job on that device, switch back to the other instance of Lightburn, get that job started again, et cetera, et cetera. I've had 2 diodes, 4 galvos, and a gantry running all at the same time.
you had 2 diodes, what?
2 diodes, I think it was 4 galvos and 1 gantry running at the same time.
Since when do you have 2 diodes?
I still have 2. I gave away most of my diodes within the last year, but I still technically have 3. Three galvos, 4 gal. I don't remember if it was 3 or 4 galvos, but you can run like as many machines as you want. It's not a software limitation. It's usually a RAM limitation and processing power. If you have like a really low end processor and not a ton of RAM, you're probably going to end up hitting your page file and it's going to slow everything down. But it'll probably not crash still because Lightburn's fantastic about that. Might physically slow down the next batch of commands that your laser gets sent, but Michael says, when you're ready to give another one away, we'll see. It's going to be a little bit. One just got sent up to Alex that he's going to do a video on because I'm not. And the other 2 are probably going to stay here for a while. My PC and laptop with a combined total of 128 gigs of RAM. You're not going to need that much. I was just looking at building a new computer too.
All right, so I have this little guy right here. I made a cup for my old boss. And I think we're going to go ahead and recreate that today. Let's go with like, so there's the 32 ounce. I'm going to try this gnarly Ryobi yellow one. So
That's going to be interesting.
Should offer a pretty good challenge for the old fiber laser. I wish I had the 50 watt available to me, but we'll see what happens. So I'm thinking 80. It's about 100 millimeter diameter, I'd imagine. That's what a lot of these cups are. This one's extra chunky, so let's see. Oh, I guess it's not that extra chunky. It's 100.61 millimeters. So
that's chunky.
$100.61. All right. Where is anybody else have any questions here? Never going back. Never gonna give it my he's Bunny Eater's got the old laser pecker one, which makes me jealous. Those things are cool. I was on the laser pecker website because he was telling me about it the other day, and they are selling those things for like $200 still. So.
Damn. I've always kind of wanted a galvo operated diode. Just between the time of the stuff that I already do and like the space limitations I have, because I'm out of square footage. I would really need to plan around where I would put it. It would probably honestly live about 6 inches from my mouse for my computer. So
those like homemade ones are really interesting to me.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I spent probably a whole evening one night trying to figure out, because Two Trees makes these, they call them fiber coupled diodes. So they're all like, they have a blue and red and green diode units that are coupled to fiber optics.
Ooh.
So I think the highest powered blue one's like 12 though. And then you can get like a 5-watt green. Then I think it's like a 5 or 6 watt red. And so I was trying to figure out, okay, if you bought that, then you'd need the collimator or emitter for it. And you can find the 532 ones. The 455s are a little bit more difficult. Thor Labs sells them. And I think I did find one through Thor because it was like a range. And I think it fit in that range. And then the Galvo head was where I hit an impasse. So nobody really manufactures a Galvo head that's designed for the 455 wavelength. So that's kind of where I ran out of steam. I would imagine probably like a 532 might work, but you never know. And then the lenses to go in the Galvo head were another like unknown. So
yeah. Cuban says he has 2 ways of asking to get paid: get it wired to his account that he still has to go set up, or ask them if they'll pay for college for a couple of years.
Nice. That's a pretty good position to be in, brother. I'm happy for you, man.
Yeah, I mean,
that deal.
Technically, if they add you to the bankroll for giving you basically a grant to cover your college, that would be potentially tax free. I'm no tax expert, but if they give you a free ride and they don't charge you for college, yeah, that'd be cool. And it saving them the upfront cash too might put them in a position where they're more willing to keep landing some extra jobs for you. Especially since they're giving you the work area to do the work in. It might be a good long-term relationship.
All right. So we have. Guess since there's not too many more questions, this will probably be the coup de grace finale. It's pretty good. See what kind of juice we need to make this happen, huh? I think I'm a little bit off on my alignment. This head's not centered perfectly like the other one is. So I'm like 10 millimeters up, which is going to be 90. So if your workpiece isn't perfectly centered, when you go here, you can go to your output center, and I'm going to make it 70. When you hit show, what does that do? Oh, there you go. So you can see it's actually putting the line. I'm going to maximize this real quick, Kyle. There you go. So it's outputting a line where you can actually see where the laser is going to compensate for the output center. So you hit show, and it gives you that quick flash. And you can see that is lined up with the center line of the cup, right? I think I missed it.
Yeah, you got it.
That looks pretty well lined up with the center line of the cup. So that way, if I was trying to engrave the cup, then it would actually, where the red dot is now, is where it would try to engrave, which could be a little bit too low and potentially out of focus depending on what size of lens, or at least taking you out of that optimal focus. So by moving it over there, then you're hitting the highest point of the cup. Can you please? All right, so I'm sorry about all the chaos in the background, guys.
You're good, bro. You're good.
I even gave him melatonins. I don't know why it didn't work tonight. Sit. Sit. If you hear any screams, they tripped and fell, I promise. All right. Can't wait to have kids help in the shop. Dude, take a couple home with you, bro, when you come down. We'll set you up on a trial basis.
Hang out with Bronson.
Heck yeah. All right, so let's see. Since this is the newish lens, I'm not really sure. Let's go with 350, 30 power, 40 kilohertz, 0.025. And now, one thing I like to do is see where the scan angle set to 0. I'd rather have it at 90 because then the path of the laser is going to match the grain of the steel if I do accidentally kiss that metal a little bit, and it'll be a little bit easier to hide than if I were to go across the grain and knock down those high points on the brushing for the steel. So we're gonna give those settings a shot, and says that it's scanning vertically along the direction of rotation, which is what I wanted. We have a new diameter, so let's go back to setup 316.076. So it's gonna be closer to 1 millimeter split. Divided by 32.987. All right, let's give it a shot. I always hit enter because I'm dumb.
I do it too. It's not just
Never
you.
fails, dude. I hate it. All right, so
Every
now I'm
time.
checking. What's that, bud?
Every time.
Yeah, it sucks, dude. I'm like type, enter, and I'll do it when I set up to repeat engravings under the start screen to go and set like a loop. I'll hit like 4 and then enter, and then it just closes it out, and it doesn't save any of the numbers you type in. So it's just
As soon as you hit enter, you realize it, and you're like, no.
yeah.
Yeah, every time. Never fails. Me too.
All right, so I have run hole shapes if possible. Max shape size set to 20 millimeters. Now, if I go here and select this guy, this is 27 wide and 18.6 high. And this is 28.413. So let's leave it, and then it'll actually split this one up into a couple different tries, and then split these ones up into hopefully just one. So actually, let's do this. Let's do 1,000 speed. That's 10,000. 12 power, 0.1. That's what I use for my black tape settings for the fiber, 30 watt. And it's good for like pretty much all the lenses. The 300, I think I use maybe like 15% power because you do lose just a little bit of juice when you get to that size. I think we need to adjust that a little bit because this seems to be a little too low. Do that right. Try right there. All right. Oh, one thing to double check too is flood fill, and then make sure you have fill shapes individually if you're going to use the fill hole shapes option on the rotary. So we can bring. There we go. And let's see what it looks like. And it looks to me like my X is inverted, huh? Oh, good night, buddy. Hopefully I didn't miss you cubing. If I did, then I guess maybe you'll see this after the fact. But all right, so you can see it went ahead and did the engrave, and it definitely had some lines going. And I think with the axis being flipped like it was, that's so I'm wondering if that's the setting here, reverse rotary direction. Because I don't think it was backwards when I hit F1. No. So you can see, I don't know if you can or not, if you can read the text, but the text is showing up the correct way. I just didn't reverse my rotary, which is something that you set one time and forget. I just haven't used the rotary yet with this newer lens. All I've ever done with this lens is basically just set it up. So went in, hit reverse rotary direction, and then maybe we can throw a fresh piece of tape on there and see how this ends up. And you could tell that it wasn't the y-axis mirror because these letters actually printed out the right direction, just in the wrong order. So that's what tells you the rotary was turning the wrong way. All right. Saved by the tape. Exactly, dude. That's why I use this stuff all the time, man. It legit will. It's like you can run it as many times as you want to make sure that your settings are right or like the rotary direction is right and all that. And you're not like, oh, I just wasted a cup because I had all this wrong. It's, I mean, the whole, the adage measure twice, cut once. So the tape is perfect for that. You throw it on there, you make sure your settings are good, and then you do the engrave instead of doing the engrave to find out if your settings are right. All right, let's try her again. All right, so we're done, and you can see now it actually did a really good job at having the splits down right and not overlapping. So we have our steps per rotation were on point, and our object diameter is obviously on point too, because otherwise we probably would have ended up with some sort of gaps or something in between. Do you lower your settings and power when doing the tape pass? Yep.
Sorry.
Hey, we do widgets. Thanks for stopping by, dude. I appreciate it, man.
Have a good night, Rob.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming by and hanging out with us, man. Hopefully you learned something. And if you didn't, then leave a comment, ask a question. We want to figure this out if anybody has any issues that they want resolved. So yeah, on the 30 watt, it's 1,000 speed, like 12% power, peak kilohertz, which on mine is like 32-ish, and 0.1 line spacing. So it really makes it go fast, and it doesn't engrave anything. It just marks the tape, and it's a durable mark too. So I'll do this all day long, and like if somebody brings me a custom piece that they want done, I'll put the tape on it, trim it up so that you can see the shape of the item that they brought me, and just hit it real quick with the laser. And it works with UV, diode, fiber, CO2, all of it. So.
But I'm looking at that.
So my reverse rotary direction was off, Kyle. Or yeah, and it needed to be on. So we to help film. So we had to fix that because it printed everything backwards. Yeah, that was embarrassing. All the letters came out looking the right direction, but it was backwards. So it was I was like, oh, yep. And luckily it's set it and forget it. When you get the rotary set up the right way, I won't have to worry about it next time I come around to use it again. So
yep.
So it looks like good placing. It looks like a good format. I mean, I'm not going to complain about how it came out. So I think it's time to peel the tape.
That'll be less of a problem too once we hopefully get those rotary devices, because then it'll just be set up for all your machines.
Yeah, that'll be great. Except one of my machines, the steps per rotation is different. So maybe I'm going to crack this 50 back open and change it from 16 to 32 like my other machines.
Oh, you have them all set to 32,000?
No, that's just the way they came.
Oh, wow.
It was just through irony or luck or whatever you want, happenstance. The lasers only and the Hayotian both came set at 32,000.
Interesting.
Yep, and the SFX is at 16. So
I got a weird question. Oh, go ahead.
What's up?
I was going to say, I have a weird question for you.
For me?
Yeah.
Okay.
What do you keep for snacks while you're at the shop?
Oh, man. I am honestly more of a thirsty individual than I am hungry most of the time. So I have a little mini fridge, and I keep it stocked up. Cheez-Its. Yeah, the kids love them. Actually, it's those 6-pack of the cheese and peanut butter crackers. We get variety packs of those. Ooh. So not quite Cheez-Its, but not Cheez-Its.
Cheez-It sounds good. Sam says he thinks you heard you tell your voluntary laborer he had fruit.
Yeah, they get fruit. They had bananas for dinner.
Nice. hey, delicious and nutritious.
But I like to keep these on hand because somehow, if you buy sparkling water with a hint of flavor, it's like $5 for a 12-pack here. But even though it was like $4 a 12-pack for like Coke and stuff when we first moved here in 2020, now in 2024, it's $9 for a 12-pack of Coke. So these being $5.35 and some change, LaCroix, I'll take something with a whisper of flavor to it. And then Dollar General sells these guys, sparkling waters, and the pineapple coconut is the bomb. I love it.
I really like Walmart carries something similar. Those are really good.
The orange vanilla ones, I just bought some of those when we were at Walmart the other day. Oh man, really good.
I've been
and the Fuji apple
for snacks.
Oh, nice.
Special K chocolate chip cookie dough and Nature Valley peanut butter dark chocolate have been my go-tos for snacks because of the protein. You know, it keeps me full longer, less crotchety and hangry.
I like at Sam's Club they sell like kind of like that Special K one where it's like honey drizzled over like nuts and stuff, and then they put like a dark chocolate coating over it. It's really good. It feels like eating a candy bar, and I don't know. String cheese is my go-to. We like to have string cheese here, even though two of my kids are kind of lactose intolerant. The white cheeses tend to be less lactosey.
Sit a little bit better.
Is. So it doesn't really mess their stomachs up. So
Polar makes a really tasty 0-calorie flavored sparkling water. Thanks, John. I've had Polar. That's pretty good.
Yeah. They're a little bit lighter on flavor than these types. Like these are way heavier on flavor than like the LaCroix or the Polar, but Polar's really good.
Polar's good. My kind of go-to drink, which is, horrible for my waistline, Canada Dry ginger ale, cranberry or blackberry. Is what it is. I enjoy it. Other than that, I'll just drink water.
Fucking bunny eater. LaCroix tastes like the only soft drink they would allow in a dystopian future where nobody's allowed flavorful foods or to have emotions.
Oh my God.
It's true though. But I don't know. I got so used to sparkling waters just because stupid White Claw. And did you know? Here's a fun fact. So a 12-pack of 12-ounce cans of LaCroix, $5.39 or whatever, right?
Yep.
White Claw now sells non-alcoholic White Claws, which White Claw is an alcoholic sparkling water. They sell non-alcoholic White Claws for $18.99 a 12-pack for 12-ounce cans.
It's so the high schoolers feel cool while they're drinking them.
Dude, almost 4 times the price per can. They blew my mind. I saw those and I was like, dude, you guys are throwing the White Claw label on some regular-ass sparkling water and trying to sell it for 4 times the price. It's ridiculous.
They just held back on the vodka pour. That's all it was.
Yep. All right. So we have. Can you please go sit down and finish your movie? All right. We're going to change these settings back. What did I say? 350, 30?
I think so.
0.025. All right, let's give her a shot. And let's change this to 0 degrees with crosshatch. So the first pass is actually going to go up and across the grain of the steel. The second one's going to go across with parallel too. So if the second, because I'm imagining we're going to actually need a second path or more. So what does Bunny Eater snack on? That's my question.
I want to know what all you guys in the chat snack on. Let's hear it.
He probably eats carrots.
You keep in the top. I'll make you big, bro. Knock me off. Make you big.
Oh.
Nobody wants to see my face. They want to see your cut.
Bunny Eater likes Cheez-Its. Do you eat them by the box, or do you get the little servings in the foil pouches? All right. So you know what? It did a really good job. I don't know if you saw it or not, but with the tape on, it kept the splits really close on these wrenches. So that's all I was really trying to show. I think I'm going to change the max size. That was 28, right? So we're going to go up to 30. So we're going to try to do those crossed wrenches as one pass. So we'll see if this is a 160 lens. Let's see if this lens on this larger cup has the juice to make that bend. It's a smallish design on a bigger curve. I think it should be fine, but we'll give it a shot. Let's find out. For science, right?
For science.
Now that this is powder coat, I need to move my fan. Looks like maybe I'm seeing a little bit of steel coming through, huh?
Yeah.
I forgot I highlighted that. Doggone it. All right, we'll do the rest now. See how it looks after one pass.
Sam says he remembers back in the day when basically people would do non-alcoholic drinks to get pulled over by the cops because the label looked the same.
Oh, yeah.
And he says, I remember that going down with all the tall Pepsi cans looking like Keystone cans from the distance. Around me, they didn't like do it with those, but they would stick them in like can koozies so you couldn't tell. You could only see the top of the can. And the cop would always assume. Bunny Eater says, Cheez-Its, the box, but I portion it into paper cups because I can't be trusted with the bag. I am the same way. Fun fact. I love Cheez-Its. They used to be literally my favorite snack. I would keep a box of them in my car and I would eat them coming to and coming from college classes. I would literally keep like the family size box on my passenger seat. And like, I know it's weird, but I did it intentionally so that the sun would warm the box up and they would be all toasty when I ate them. I'm weird. But I could destroy a box in a sitting, like a family size box. Zero portion control naturally.
I'm wondering if I had auto rotate on that layer because it's definitely running at 45 degrees.
Oh, you might. Yeah.
I didn't notice it, but I wasn't looking for it because I didn't think it would be on.
Yeah, that's fair. Looks okay from a distance.
Yeah, it's almost down to the metal. I think we're going to do another pass just at 90 degrees and a higher kilohertz to see if we can get the rest of the way through it. But yeah. And then I'll have to figure out who else I'm going to give this cup to. Yeah, I used to work with this blonde lady at Hy-Vee gas station, just like a part-time job. And she was the epitome of a blonde. So I was like, dude, this cup's perfect for her. Cheez-Its figured out how to add dopamine to the product. Probably. I wouldn't be surprised.
I'm still convinced to this day that Cheez-Its are the reason why my gallbladder ended up having to get removed.
Oh, wow.
Well, if you think about it, they're crackers. They got like a ton of fat in them. So not really great for you, your gallbladder, but the quantity I was eating them in was definitely not the recommended serving size. I'll say that.
Yeah. Is it ever, though? Those serving sizes are ridiculous.
It's a suggestion, not a rule.
Yeah. It's like the old saying, every pizza is a personal pizza if you eat it by yourself.
True. And when you say that's not a personal pizza, you say not with that attitude.
Exactly. Yep, there was an auto angle increment increase. Woo woo! Oh shit, I entered another number. Fat fingers. All right, so let's go to 90. Because you can see it's only in the overlaps here can you really see steel. This just turns a very steely color of gray when it gets hit by the laser, apparently. Let's up the juice a little bit since we're upping the power. And how many people we got left? We got 7 viewers. Wow, that's awesome, guys. I really appreciate you guys hanging out.
If you haven't done it yet, smash that like button and also smash the subscribe button and hit the bell icon so you get notified when Anthony does more live streams. More cool live streams.
When I do my spontaneous lives and don't tell anybody about it until 5 minutes prior.
Just occurred to me, you have flood fill on, don't you?
Oh yeah. For me, flood fill is a must because it focuses the power consistently enough to where it's heating up just that one spot, and I feel like you get much better success trying to engrave or ablate off that powder coat, because essentially what you're just trying to do is vaporize the powder coat. And if you don't use flood fill, it's not focusing the power in a small enough area, so it just doesn't. In situations like this where you're doing like text and whatnot, I feel like it just does a much better job. Do you not use flood fill?
I do selectively, but most of the time when I do it, I always end up with weird lines everywhere. So I'm hesitant to.
Yeah, with like engraves and stuff, I see that for sure. On the cups, if you hit it too hard, for sure the lines will show up.
Yeah.
We'll see. We might get a couple random ones on this one. This is going to be a tough color. You can see it's still not quite. I'm going to add a little bit more frequency. Actually, I'm going to leave it. I'm going to drop this back down to 30, though. It's hard to tell. That powder coat it turns gray for some reason, and it's hard to tell if it's the metal or if it's the coating itself. I noticed because I bought a can koozie in that same color from the same company.
Yeah.
Would you see an electro polish bath treatment you mentioned earlier cause issues to the tumbler that has a coating like this one? I don't think I've seen that pop up as an issue. Powder coat's pretty durable, so I think who's it? Adam something on in tumblers on the Discord has brought it up numerous times, and he's talked about like the long-term effects and stuff, and I don't think he's had anything negative to say yet.
Mention caught me in.
Okay. Nope. Absolutely not.
Dad
You got to go. Okay. You got to protect your eyeballs. Go watch a movie. All right. Yeah, I'll have to look them up. I don't remember exactly. In tumblers.
I think what he uses like a TIG brush, and it uses like an acidic solution on the
Yeah.
surface of metal with an electrical current, and it basically removes the it creates a new oxide layer on the surface essentially. That's what protects it from rust as well. Yeah.
And it's Adam9455 is the username. So yeah, he's talked about it in depth, and he responds well to questions too. So if you have any, hit him up. All right, it's starting to. I can see the metal poking through, but it's not quite where it wants to come off yet. It looks like so. I think. Oh, you said. Hey, it's Adam9455 in case anybody wants to look it up. Yep, that's the guy. So at this point, I'll probably end up switching to fill whole shapes instead of flood fill, or fill shapes individually and turn off flood fill. So it'll hopefully, if I do accidentally get through and start nicking the metal, it won't show those lines. Hopefully it won't, but we'll find out.
For science.
Actually, looks like it might be doing pretty good. Getting a lot more shine out of the metal as it rotates into the light. So we'll see. But I do appreciate everybody hanging out as late as you guys have. We're up to 8 now, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Appreciate you guys hanging. If you have any questions whatsoever, please just feel free to ask them. It's not too often you get 3.5 hours of time to ask for whatever you want within reason, you know. Even in the changes area where it's like cutting it up into splits, it looks like it's getting a really good effect on the powder coat. I appreciate you hanging out, Kyle. You're a boss, bro. I know you probably got a bunch of other things you could be doing.
Thank you for the invite.
Oh, always, man.
You are helping me procrastinate on the ripping apart the laser I need to rip apart. So I got to get that done tonight and send back the results of that.
Good times.
Yeah. It's the joys of major component failure. Not even from the people you got it from, but from the factory that made the part.
That's nuts. You ever do bowls on a rotary? If you did, what were your results like? Any things you wish you'd have known prior? Like cereal bowls or dog bowls or Cheech and Chong bowls.
China bowls? Cereal bowls. I feel like if I was going to do a cereal bowl, I would try and get it chucked up in a way that I could do the outside. So I could do like the portion of the bowl you can see when looking at it from the side. And then I would probably like do the bottom separately on the outside and leave like a gap evenly spaced. So there's an unengraved line in between the bottom and the sides. Be interesting. Mike's calling it. Have a good night, Mike. Good seeing you. Thanks for hanging out, man.
Yeah, dude. Thanks for hanging out, Mike. I really appreciate it, man. Hope you learned something, dude. Hope you learned something. And if you guys have any ideas for like future live streams too, like I mostly want to do this stuff to help people out, you know? So if there's anything you want to see, I felt like Rotary was a big thing that like a lot of people get a little bit intimidated by. I might have been wrong. But you know what I just realized is that wrench wasn't part of the engrave this whole time. So while we got really good results, I'm actually shocked at how well this just turned out. I just have to say, this green I thought was going to be a huge problem. There's a couple spots that need cleaned up, but like overall, it got. I'm going to make this big. It removed the powder coat pretty good, but like there's a little bit of residue on here that still, if I threw a little elbow grease on, is just gonna pop right off. But you can see it didn't mar the metal. So pretty stoked about that. All right, Sam said, thanks. I'm noticing charred wood bowls, especially salad bowls, are gaining more popularity. Oh, okay. So big guys like that. That'd be fun. I have a couple wooden bowls. I just don't know if my missus is gonna be amicable with me marking them up. She's cool with cups because she's the type of person that I had to lay a ground rule with her a couple of years ago because she would just keep bringing cups home. And finally, I was like, look, you bring one home, you get rid of one. You get a new one, you put one in the trash or something. I don't care where it goes. Donate it, send it somewhere. But we can't have 2 whole cupboards full of travel cups.
Yeah, we're kind of at that point here too, but it's not a me or my other half thing. It's the rest of the family.
Yeah. So yeah, this color is not nearly as intimidating as I thought it was going to be. The first time I messed with this color was, I think I was trying to figure out if the UV would be a viable option for removing powder coat, and I just couldn't get good settings for it. But this lens size, which was the f225, and the 30-watt laser, got pretty decent. Still needs a little bit more cleanup, but pretty decent results. And I'm mad at myself for screwing up that wrench. I could probably try and line it back up, but
it was intentional. It's to give it a pop.
Some panache. But yeah, pretty excited about that. I didn't think this was going to turn out as good as it did.
Yeah, it looks good.
Very nice. Any last minute questions or what's that, bud?
I'm pretty impressed with it.
Oh, thank you.
That yellow is wild.
Yeah. Still feel like I should put a Ryobi logo on it. Do not infringe other companies' copyright logos, even if it is hilarious and appropriate. So,
This just in, Anthony started a company called Ryo A.
Ryo C. SI, because it's Spanish for yes. You should buy these. But yeah, anyways, any last minute questions, comments, concerns, complaints? Anybody want to know where babies come from? Anybody
Any
have
feedback? I'll take
any
feedback.
ideas for the next live stream? Like, I'm down, dude. I'm down for whatever. I want to know what you guys want. I want to know what you want to see, and as long as it's not me in a G string, I'll make it happen.
Tell
Kyle
him
in a G string, negotiable.
no. Tell us what you want, what you really, really want.
Oh boy.
But it can't belong on OnlyFans. We're not that kind of streamer.
Nope, not yet. All right, well, I'm not seeing anything. So, Kyle, you're a stud. Thanks for hanging out.
Thanks for the invite, brother.
Yeah, anytime. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Looks like everybody else is starting to leave too. So, if you didn't like it already, please feel free to hit the like button. And once we're done with this live stream, if you want to leave a comment and tell me what I did right, what I did wrong, what you'd like to see in the future, anything like that, tell me I'm ugly, whatever you'd like, just let me know. I'm down for some constructive criticism. So thank you for hanging out. Thanks for learning alongside of us. And we will see you next time.
Good night.